It's such a
it was amazing, wasn't it?
It was great. If anybody hasn't checked it, go along to Highland or Greg's Facebook page and check it out. Yeah. It's a lovely piece of music.
Brilliant. I've only heard it twice, but I feel like I've heard it a ton of times, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, but it's just really, and the way it was, he came up with the notes for the song, and it was just amazing.
The whole concept, exactly.
Brilliant.
I know it really
Lovely.
is something special. And I know too, certainly any of the families that I have contact with, that it means a lot to them, and isn't that really what's most important?
It's great. Yeah.
Okay. Listen, appreciate that, Lee, and I'm sure Matt will too, and Denise Roper, who was excellent on the piano as well.
I would love to hear a lovely big production of that. I know it's nice on its own.
Oh, yeah. But that's why music is so important, because it's so subjective.
Yeah.
I like the
just simplicity.
Exactly. But I hear exactly what you're saying.
You know, an orchestral side. I know. It can be so emotional. Yeah. But do you know, it was, I get it. All right.
Listen, Lee, thanks for that. Enjoy your weekend. Have a great one. He's back with you Monday morning. We're going to be joined by our Friday panel very, very shortly as we kick off the 9 till noon show, after we get a news update now from Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Ukraine is to become a NATO member after all allies agreed to the move. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg says once the war ends in Ukraine, Kiev must have the deterrence to prevent new attacks. It comes after Mr. Stoltenberg yesterday pledged to continue support to the country during his first visit to Kiev since Russia's invasion just over a year ago. Health Minister Stephen Donnelly is due in Donegal town today for the official opening of the town's new primary care centre. The centre will provide a range of services including podiatry, physiotherapy, dietetics, social work, occupational therapy and X-ray facilities. Mandy Doyle is head of the primary care services in Donegal, and she says this will help ensure that people receive services in their own community, and in many cases will no longer have to travel to the acute hospitals in Letterkenny or Sligo for treatments or consultations.
It's about enabling the patient to have closer access to their care in the heart of their own community, and also then reducing the footfall to our acute hospitals. We've come a long way. However, we do acknowledge, we still have more to do, and both Minister Donnelly and ourselves in the health service remain very committed to the delivery of that safe, high-quality service to our communities across the Donegal region.
Half of Anpost's fleet will run on alternative fuel sources by 2025. It's part of its plan to live up to its environmental promises. Its sustainability report released today shows it's also on target to achieve a net zero carbon emissions by the year 2030. 3 in 5 doctors were unhappy with their work-life balance during the COVID-19 pandemic. That's according to a new paper published by the Irish Medical Journal, which highlights over 70% of doctors were at risk of burnout. The paper notes it is likely the COVID-19 pandemic had a significant negative impact on doctor well-being in Ireland. Dr. Brendan O'Shea, a practicing GP in Kildare, says doctors suffering from burnout are more likely to make mistakes.
It's bad for the staff involved, but we also know that tired, exhausted doctors are far more likely to make errors. Errors are more likely to happen, and patients suffer as a result of that. Sometimes they're the very obvious errors that a tired, exhausted doctor is significantly more likely to miss something important. So that's an obvious thing that people rapidly understand.
And now to the weather. Dry and mostly sunny this morning, and it will stay that way for the afternoon also, but there will be a partial build-up of cloud. Highest temperatures will range from 13 to 16 degrees with a moderate to fresh northeast breeze. That's all for now. We'll be back again with a news update and the obituary notices at 10 o'clock. And until then, good morning.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It is 4 minutes past 9 on this Friday, the 21st of April, 2023. I do hope you're very well indeed, and hopefully you're on board now for the next 3 hours for this show, and of course throughout the day here on Highland Radio. Later on, Michael and Fionnuala will be in with us for That's Entertainment. We have an actor in studio as well, or joining us at least, and there's also some live music. But to get us a little bit closer to all of that, we are now going to introduce to you our Friday panel, who'll run through some of the big stories of the day and some of the top stories making the headlines throughout the week. Let's say good morning to them right now then. First of all, we'll say good morning to Maria Rush, fitness instructor with Rush Fitness and blogger at Maria Living Out Loud.
Good morning, Greg. How are we all?
Good. Are you going to be living out loud with us this morning?
Oh, making loads of noise as usual, Greg.
Excellent. Good stuff. That's what we like to hear. Also, Richard Logues, the project manager in Transport London. He's back with us again. Good to see you. Good to have you on board, Richard.
Thanks for having me again, Greg. It's a real pleasure.
Brilliant stuff. And last but not least, Councillor Martin Harley, Fine Gael Councillor in the Stranorlar Municipal District. Good morning to you, Councillor Harley. How are you keeping?
Not too bad, Greg. Good morning to you. Good morning to Maria and Richard as well.
All right, now we're going to hear the views of our guests, of course, but we want yours as well. WhatsApp or text 086 60 25,000 or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Now, the government's expected, or is expecting, a surplus this year of €10 billion, with a surplus of 16 billion expected next year. Last year, I think there was an €8 billion surplus. The Taoiseach's pledged tax cuts, welfare hikes and infrastructure spending. But Leo Varadkar said he would also set aside a portion of the windfall corporation taxes in what he called an anti-austerity fund. The money is coming, of course, as I just mentioned, from corporation tax receipts. But what should we actually be doing with this money now? Should we be parking it, or should we be spending it in the areas that it's most needed? Shall I start with you, Martin, seeing as you're up on my screen here? What would you like to see the government do with this 26 and 8 is what, 34 billion over the last 3 years and into the next?
Yeah, well, I feel that I think we need to be parking some, but we don't want to end up like we were in 2008, 2009.
But we can't, you see, because apparently we've changed the rules of banking. People have more savings on deposit. People aren't borrowing beyond their means. That's what caused everything we're told in 2008.
Yeah, well, we're depending on the taxes from the building of houses. So now we're depending on the taxes of corporation tax so we have to make sure that we our corporation tax at the moment is low. So this is why a lot of the companies are operating out of Ireland. Okay,
but let's hypothesise, right? Let's say we had what happened in 2008 again. And this is what we're putting the money away to avoid. What would happen in this country, do you think, by way of a similar situation in 2008? People would start living in abject poverty. We'd have children that couldn't be fed. We'd have people that didn't have any homes. We'd have a healthcare system that would be on the brink of collapse. We would have a situation where you couldn't even get an appointment with your GP. That's exactly how we're living now, Martin. Let's spend it now.
Yeah. Well, there is a lot of issues there at the minute. The fact that we can't see a GP is partly down to the fact that we have we're helping out the Ukrainian situation where we have more people coming into the country, and we have to do that under our EU rules. In fairness, there is a lot of packages in place this year. There's been.
Just in relation to that, by the way, and I'm sorry, this is a conversation, right? I'm not pulling you up on everything. The greatest concern from GPs at the moment is not having to deal with a growing population. It's a government decision to decide to roll out more free GP access to younger people without properly thinking it through or having the resources there to do it. That's what the GPs will tell you is part of the problems going forward.
Oh, yeah. No, that is an issue that we're given GP care now up to the age of I think it's 9, and free GP care. We have to. Our big problem at the minute, I see, where our major general hospitals is that we haven't got enough people out there now to do home help. There's a massive need for more people to do home help.
So here's a bold move. Let us use some of these billions then to properly pay nurses that might stay and work here and properly pay home helps so that it would seem an attractive job to go into. I'm trying to use this money to fix the problems that you're highlighting here.
Yeah, I agree with you, because what's happening at the moment is we have a lot of beds taken up in general hospitals where people can't get home because they've got no home help, and they won't allow them out of the hospital till home help's in place. So I do agree with you there that we need to the home help situation in Ireland at the minute, we need to look at that, because we can free up a lot of beds, and that is part of the problem. I know at the moment 3 people that want to get home, but they can't get home at the minute. because they can't get home help.
Yeah.
So
it just sounds already the way it's being set out here by the Taoiseach Leo Varadkar and whoever was Taoiseach, and from whatever party they might be saying the same, that we're all now supposed to hold our breath for tax cuts, welfare hikes and infrastructure spending to be announced in the budget at the end of this year. That's all well and good. What will it mean? Maybe an extra £6 in people's pockets every week. It won't really make any difference. Yet all the problems that are in this country at the moment will persist. Do we not need to start doing politics in a different way? How long have we been talking about not being able to rely on these corporation tax receipts? Where has all the money gone that we're supposedly not able to rely on?
Yeah, well, a lot of the money at the minute has been the money that's been given out on different helps during the COVID and during the times that we're in at the minute. That's pittance. That's pittance.
Look, the surplus is what we have left over after what we spent. So the government has 8 billion last year, isn't it? So that means they took in 8 billion less than they spent.
More than they spent, yeah.
More than they spent. Okay, right. So we managed to cover those debts, and yet we still have 8 billion left over. So we can't blame then, can we, that spending?
Oh no, we can't blame the spending now. But as I say, you take a country like Norway that is depending totally on the oil. They put so many billion aside each year that when it comes to a time that they don't have any, that oil is not their main income, that the money will be there. I mean, we have an aging population at the minute, and we talk about the pension. We don't have enough. We don't have enough money in the budgets to cover pensions going forward because people are living longer.
I thought we were going to make people work longer to fix that problem, and now we're not talking about doing that anymore. We're talking about using this money now to fix that problem. But I take your point, and we'll come back to it and tease it out a bit more. Maria Rush, what would you like to see? What do you think we should be doing?
I think what Councillor Martin Hurley said there about putting some money away is not a bad idea. I think we are very quick to jump into the whole idea that we throw money at problems and we'll fix problems, but that's not always going to be the case.
But that's giving. But Maria, with respect, that's giving up on us able to do anything correctly. Then, so because if 100%. if by spending to try and make people's lives better is seen as just throwing money at a problem that doesn't fix it, well then that identifies a significant problem in and of itself. Then, doesn't it?
Massive problems, and the biggest issue is that when we throw money at things, we don't know where it goes when it goes into the system, and it's not going where it needs to go. It's great to say that we have the lowest corporation tax rate, and all these companies are coming. They're bringing business, they're bringing employment. But what I'm seeing as an employer happening is that the young people in this country are leaving because they cannot get mortgages. They cannot get what they need to get to stay here. And, when you see young teachers, young nurses being pulled into virtual recruitments conferences in Australia and the Middle East, being offered packages of up to €70,000 with their flights, with their healthcare, with all that, why would you not? This is the reality of it. So personally, I'm speaking as an employer and as a family member with a lot of cousins who are heading that way at the minute, and it's absolutely devastating to our local communities. So yes, of course, what I said at the start about keeping money aside, what I mean there is we still have 224 billion of national debt. Of course, it makes sense in a basic budget level to think about that. We have the National Reserve Fund in case trouble hits, as they say. There was talk during the week about a sovereign fund to address what you said there, Martin, about your pensions and your ageing population. Those things are all common sense, but we also have to put money into our health system, into our education, into all the things that we are facing as people on the ground every day. And I mean, friends, family members here of ours who are working in the health system, they are pulled from pillar to post. I know one woman who was on a week's annual leave last week who worked 5 days. This is the reality. So the money needs to go into the right parts of this system.
And again, anyone can contact me and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm reading this wrong. But what I feel like we're seeing at the moment is that, say, for instance, in the area of construction, that you've got a lot of very big companies that saw what was coming down the line. They saw the money that's there, and they started turning the tap off. You know how they turn the tap off with the oil? They started turning the tap off because they can't progress with projects because, of increased costs and so on and so forth. And then lo and behold, what we're hearing now is, €150,000 per house or per unit that's being given to these people to progress these projects. We're starting to throw this money at the same group of individuals that Martin Harley referenced, that the housing boom being the cause of the last recession. And yet here we are again. They seem to be able to turn off the tap in terms of building and construction, and we're going to throw billions at them. And that's how we seem to spend money. That's not going to keep nurses in this country, Maria.
No, it's not. And then the whole idea of the housing, all that I'm reading, everything that I read is about, it's all hypothetical language about initiatives and ambition and plans and schemes and incentives. Where's the actual, show me the plans where this is going to happen, and get the people on the ground doing it. Make it happen. We can talk about social housing and affordable housing and creating housing and building all we want. Talking's not going to get us where we need to be. And having a 5-year plan is great if you actually act upon it. But we're very good in this country at having plans about things and talking about plans about talking, and actually not doing what we need to do. There's very little building happening in Letterkenny. I'm not seeing many houses going up. It would be great to see it. It needs to happen. But straight away also, when you read the articles in the Irish Independent and the Irish Times, as we're talking about the money going into the construction industry to help to build these houses, we're also already talking about who's going to be allowed to apply for those, who's going to be able to access them, how much money they need to be earning. Let's build them first. Let's get the houses built, and then we have somewhere to put people.
Yeah, and not to mention too, you talk about all talk and no action. Not a single. Is it, what's he call those houses again? The prefabbed houses, or whatever you might call them. Their names escape me. Has been delivered yet? Not one. And we've been talking about that for a long time. And also, too, I hear ministers use language like commencements. What does commencements mean? There's 2,000 or 3,000 houses were commenced. What does that mean? Planning permission was applied for? A site's been bought? Does it mean the foundations are in? I don't understand what that means. But anyway, we'll get to that maybe. Richard Logue has been waiting patiently. Richard, thank you so very much indeed. The floor is yours. Good morning again.
Yeah, so looking at that surplus, I agree with Maria and with Martin about setting aside, certainly money for sovereign funds and for, as an insurance policy against future recessions. However, the one thing we need to do, and Maria touched on it very eloquently just there, is about a lack of investment. And I would see that a chunk of that money needs to go in investment. Now, the big problem we have right now across the country is that young people are immigrating, not because of jobs, they're immigrating because they can't get housing. And the Taoiseach stood up in the Dáil, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, and said that there was a deficit of around about 250,000 homes in Ireland. Now, let's be honest, we're not going to build those in Dublin. Dublin is pretty much full up. We should be looking for a wholesale. Now, I talk about development plan, but a plan with an implementation plan attached to it. So the one thing we're really crying out for on the western half of Ireland is decent infrastructure, adequate housing, and then with that should come, we hope, the investment from employers to bring jobs into the country. Because, it's a bit like the bath with the water running out, and you haven't, we don't have enough housing to keep young people in jobs. And the big crisis that we have, and Maria mentioned this, and I would know this from my late mother, the big crisis we have is that we don't have enough people to actually maintain the health service as it is. And the reason they're not staying is that they can't afford a property. 100 years ago, what were the first things that the Irish Free State did on independence? They built a huge program of social housing, and they set up the Ardnacrusha power station to address an energy deficit. And here we are 100 years later, crying out for social housing, needing an energy deficit. And by the way, particularly in Donegal, we need to resolve that mica issue very, very quickly, because I know it's going to cost money, but it needs to be dealt with. And, I always say this, we've got to get that issue properly resolved so everybody gets adequate compensation for getting their houses rebuilt. And that will cost money. Yeah. Now, we shouldn't just go headlong into tax cuts just because we think there's a general election coming up. I think that's a false economy. And to be honest with you, if we have €6 more in our pockets every month, will it really make a difference? The real issue is that we need to do the investment both on housing to the scale that the state did when the state had far less money than it has now. And that was 100 years ago.
Yeah, but even with the money, Richard, because we then need to change how we think, maybe the planning and all that type of stuff, because even with the money, like there's been a really significant underspend in the Department of Housing in 2 successive years. Money literally has been given back. And the irony of people emigrating, we can't really attract the teachers, the healthcare professionals, or even the people that to work in construction to Ireland if they're not here, because there's nowhere for them to live.
Can't afford it.
But there isn't even actually rooms for them.
Yeah, exactly. And you look on the estate agent sites like Daft.ie and look at amount of properties available to rent. The private sector isn't and is not, and shouldn't really be, we shouldn't be relying on the private sector for affordable housing. The state needs to take the bull by the horns and essentially build, but not just plant houses in the middle of a random field. Do it properly as a part of a plan with adequate infrastructure, and make sure we have proper road and rail networks, obviously, in order to service all of this. We've got to get away from this idea that you can plant houses 10 miles away in the middle of nowhere in a field and expect people are going to access services and use them. You've got to do it in a sensible way. And we are very good on plans, and Maria mentioned this in the country, but we are absolutely hopeless at implementation. We need to start looking at...
What needs to change there? Because let's face it, right? It's not the ministers that implement this stuff. Every time we talk about various problems, it seems to be that we find ourselves coming back to the permanent government, the civil servants that are there, because the politicians can promise the sun, the moon and the stars, but are they not really the people that make the decisions and implement those policies that we talk of? I mean, it's like that we're having a conversation about the provision of public IVF treatment yesterday, and it's supposed to be coming in 2 or 3 months, and there's nothing in terms of implementation, no knowledge, nothing, and that's on a 10 million euro spend, not the multiples of billions we're talking about now. So we need to find out, do we not, where the blockage is? Clear that blockage. Where is it?
The general rule is that government ministers decide policy, civil servants implement that policy, and that needs to be reiterated right across the board. I'm not going to name any names. I think we know who we're talking about. There was an Oireachtas committee during the week which kind of showed that issue out loud. But basically, we have to ensure that government ministers make sure that the policy that they decide is actually implemented. The buck stops with the ministers. We elect the ministers. We don't elect the civil servants. But it is the job of the ministers to ensure that their policy is implemented. And they can't keep hiding behind, I put it to the civil servants and they said no. No, you decide the policy. You're the minister. We put you in there.
Martin, then you'll have the Department of Housing saying, well, we've greenlit the council to do this, that and the other. And I think, 3 odd houses were delivered by the council last year under quite a wide-ranging number of schemes, short-term schemes from government. What is the council's role in this? I mean, you must know at a local level what hold-ups are, where the hold-ups are, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, I know at a Donegal County Council level that we're meeting on Monday regarding the next 24 to 30 development plan, and over the last number of months we have say in the Stranraer area we have looked at different lands around the towns of Stranraer and Balbafay that can be looked at, that the council can put social housing on. I do agree with Richard there that we do need to move this quicker. It's too slow. It's too slow because I know myself, like if you were elected tomorrow morning and you had a 5-year term that and you had some idea, the 5 years could be up before that idea could be dealt with. And that's too slow. That's not good enough. We've got to we've gone to Northern Ireland and I see houses going up very quickly, and I think to myself, how come we can't?
And that's without a government.
We seem exactly, yeah, and but you wonder why is that their sports they're being run by London at the minute, and that's the way they seem to the parties there seem to be happy enough with at the minute, because they're not prepared to come around the table and talk, most of them. So we've had so I think that we need to move on the projects. We need to move the projects quicker. We need to get the planning in place quicker, and we need to look at all the different. You take us in Sonora there now, where I am, that we put in a treatment plant that can cover up to 12 to 14,000 houses, which was needed, and there was an investment of about 10 million there in the last number of years. But at the same time now, we haven't built any houses.
Yeah, okay, well, let's not even build them, right? As sure as night follows day, next year, Stranraer or Ballybofey will have the country's highest commercial vacancy rate. It happens every year. What's being done to sort of say, right, that's not changing. We're not going to attract any further businesses. In fact, we're going to go around the town with a road. So who's to say what impact that might have? What are you doing to try and get some of that commercial property then into residential property? If you can't build it, convert it.
Yeah, well, I suppose it depends again back to the stage of who owns the properties, and are they prepared to go down that road? Maybe people think that the property is worth more than it actually is worth as well, so that they're looking for rents for commercial use that is above what is viable. But
you have to ask the question. You have to ask the question why they are prepared to have a commercial premises lying vacant rather than loan the rent and bring someone in. I mean, that in and of itself is a question. But Maria, I just find it, you see, hopeless. And I don't want to be negative or whatever. It's not this government. It could be the next government or whatever combination of government parties that might get together whenever. It just seems to be more talk and no action, which really was the crux of your first contribution. It's kind of frustrating because even if you, say, go to the election ballot box tomorrow, what do you vote for? Who do you vote for what?
I think, the closer we get to the general election as well, we're going to see more and more promises and great news being spun out. And, it's going to be it's going to be a challenge to decipher the difference or figure out the pieces that are genuine and the pieces that are spin for votes. But I mean, going back to what Martin said there as well, and there is a drive. The people who are on the ground in the local council are there trying to make a difference. When you have planning and initiatives and schemes, but nothing actually happening, it's very frustrating. And I think the closer we get to the election, it's almost like the TDs want to be seen to be saving money. How is it that we can spend or underspend 1.2 billion on the housing budget in a housing crisis? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Don't be proud of that. Use that money to actually fix it.
Well, you referenced your business, a very successful business. If those type of anomalies were happening financially in any medium-sized business or large business, you would change the people at the head of that business who would say this business is not being run effectively here. Now, I mean, I suppose a business that would be running an underspend, but you get my point, right? It's a mismanagement really of really quite significant funds. Like, we don't want to see this money all of a sudden that we're being told we can't spend now, all of a sudden turn up at election time. And
this is what I mean. There will always be those promises. We've talked about health, we've talked about housing, we've talked about education. There's a harrowing article in the Irish Independent yesterday about sex assault data and the services that we are waiting on and conversations that have been happening since 2019. It's 4 years ago. Let's get this done. It's 4 years later and there are still thousands and thousands and thousands of people waiting for those services. Those aren't services that we can kick down the line any longer. That's another one example of something that just came to my attention this week. If you open any newspaper, you're going to see another 1,000 issues coming at you. If you speak to 10 different people, there's 10 different issues. So, we will always find things. There are things, obviously, as a business person, as a parent, that are going to affect me more than somebody who isn't in this situation. Mm-hmm. But we have to, as you mentioned, when the person at the top is throwing money into something, but the people that are delegated to manage aren't either able to or aren't willing to put it to where it needs to go, there's a disconnect somewhere. And I think when
you've seen your civil servants literally treating ministers with absolute contempt and them on almost 300k a year, I think that really pulls the curtain back some way, because that's the glimpse, once they were dragged kicking and screaming into an Oireachtas committee, that's the glimpse we get at the attitude.
And there is also a disconnect, and I've said it before, between urban and rural, where when most of the decisions are being made by people who are always in one situation, they can't understand fully the situation of people who aren't in that situation.
Richard, is any country getting it right though? You know, we do see around the world similar conversations happening all the while. You know, it's almost as if there's a global, you know, handbook that everybody follows. I mean, I'm not asking you to start naming countries that it is working, and don't go near the Nordic countries because it's too easy. But are there any countries that we could look to and say, well, that's how it's done?
Well, you know, we often talk about the Nordic countries, don't we? About the good models of, you know, what I would consider an excellent sort of social democratic model of government, where you do have, you know, countries like Norway who spent their North Sea oil money on a massive sovereign wealth fund, which allowed the country to maintain, you know, a high class health service, and use their North Sea oil money pretty wisely. And I certainly applaud the fact that, you know, the budget surplus is going, you know, into a rainy day fund, so to speak. But the issue we've got is, you know, the reason so many people died in a potato famine is we were living off potatoes. We're now currently living off corporation tax receipts. The last recession, we were living off stamp duty receipts. So, you know, the Irish government needs to look at a model of tax receipts where we actually have a pretty, you know, good mix. And I know that they're planning to expand the population between now and 2040 to a further 3.5 million using Project Ireland 2040. But, you know, unless we actually invest some of that money on basic infrastructure, not just housing, road infrastructure, rail infrastructure, getting, you know, the state ready for investment. And also ensuring that we're not delivering and developing everything in Dublin and the East Coast and ignoring the West. You know, we need to actually do this in a really balanced way. And we need to actually have a plan of implementation. We can talk fine words, but until we actually have an implementation plan and actually show that we're meeting that, you know, that's where I think we need to take the politics, if you like, out of things like infrastructure and out of things like almost like the health service as well, because I think there is a consensus.
Well, how do you do that? How do you take that out of politics then? You know, what is I mean, I would have already been in favour of some sort of a cross-party body that's you know, that is responsible for important things like health, education, and development. But again, that is not a model we see elsewhere, is it? No one's going to give over that power if they've managed to find their way into government.
It would be a sensible approach, Greg, but obviously the nature of adversarial politics, you know, you always have a government and an opposition, and it's the job of the opposition to pillory the government. And there's a job, you know, when that government goes back into opposition, then it's their job to pillory the new government. But, you know, I almost think that we need to actually have, you know, things like the health service and infrastructure as part of a independent commission in a way. But then how do you select the independent commissioners, and do you make it cross-party? I'm not sure.
And I suppose Sláintecare to some extent is kind of cross-party, but where's that going? But Martin, I mean, you would know at a council level, but you know, there's not much party politics really goes on at council level. Councillors of the same area will work together. The county as a whole will work together where needs be. I mean, that's the way it is, isn't it? And we don't see that reflected on a national scale. It is all the shouting back and forwards. And listen, post-election, the heads might change, but it'll all be the same. It'll just be the same thing with different people in different places.
Yeah, well, in fairness, Donegal County Council is probably one of the few councils in Ireland that now, for 9 years now, we've had an all-inclusive council where all parties have been in the mix, and which has worked well to an extent with the majority of the councillors. So, but I understand at a government level that there's a lot of talk goes on and a lot of talk about different issues, but I feel that we have to get, we say that the ministers are in charge. The ministers maybe get 100,000 a year, but they're telling civil servants who are getting 200,000 and 300,000 a year, what to do. But I don't think that's working. I don't think it has worked for a lot of years, and but so I think that there has to be a change there. We look at the billions, and I know as Richard said there, we do need in Donegal to sort the Mica issue out. But there are a lot of houses for sale in Donegal at the minute, and I think the council should be going and spending the money to buy up houses, to get our people into houses.
And derelict houses as well, Martin. There's an awful lot of properties in the town centres, which a relatively small investment would do them up into good family homes for people who need them. Yeah, it's a real scourge. And it's not just in Donegal, it's right across Ireland.
Yeah, okay, listen, thanks all three of you. You're hearing from Richard Logue, Maria Rush, Councillor Martin Harley. Back with more from them after we take this break in about 3.5 minutes.
Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Linda's Boutique Ardra celebrates its first year in business this Saturday, the 22nd of April. Enjoy refreshments and treats from 12 to 4 p.m, while Linda thanks all her customers for their support. Linda's Boutique, open Monday to Saturday, 10:30 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Callahan's Gala and Go Burt, your one-stop family shop. With over 50 years of experience, we pride ourselves in providing a top-class customer experience. Keen fuel prices, convenience shop, hot deli, hardware.
And Frosty's famous special recipe ice cream.
Family-run, helpful staff and service with a smile.
Sure, it's all go at Callahan's.
Transform your garage with an electric roller garage door from Garola. It's time to modernise with a fully fitted roller door from just €997. With 21 colours to choose from, we'll even take your old garage door away. Book your free survey today. Call 1800 827 515 or visit garola.ie.
I started off walking parkrun, and it took me a year to build up to be able to run 5 kilometres. When I got breast cancer, I actually feel the fact that I was fit meant I was able to tolerate the treatment so much better. And when I came out of hospital, the first thing I actually did was go for a walk with one of my parkrun buddies. It's not just about running, it's exercise for life. My name is Geraldine, and I'm a parkrunner.
VHI believes parkrun is more than running. That's why we're their biggest supporter. Join us every week at your local parkrun.
The groom goes free. The groom goes free. Yes, you heard it. The Groom's Room. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park. The groom goes free. Call in today. Terms and conditions apply.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Attention all jewellery lovers. This is an announcement you don't want to miss. The permanent jewellery pop-up is coming to Armaculla Jewellers on Saturday, 6th of May. Don't miss your chance to find the perfect piece to mark a special bond. Book your appointment now to avoid disappointment, whether it's for a loved one or for yourself. Permanent jewellery has something for everyone. See you there.
Why did I choose Ulster? I wanted a university who could give me the biggest possible future, but also the best possible time now. Somewhere I could make friends and have good crack, but also to set me up for the best job possible. I'm planning to take up one of the study abroad options, and then my big plan is to specialise in media law in LA. But for now, NI has one of the lowest student living costs in the UK. So, night markets, here I come.
Learn why over 30,000 students choose Ulster at ulster.ac.uk/go north. Apply now for this September.
The wind is our greatest natural resource. We're harnessing it to power homes across the country with 100% green energy. Switch to SSC Airtricity, Ireland's largest green energy provider, and get the wind working for you. Switch today and get 15% off electricity and gas. Switching couldn't be easier. Simply go to sscairtricity.com. SSE Airtricity. This is Generation Green. EAB €3,450.12. Offer from the 15th of the 2nd, 2023. Rates valid from the 1st of the 10th, 22. Subject to change. 1 year standard unit rate discount for new home gas and electricity customers and direct debit and e-bill. For details of EAB, T's and C's, rates, exit fees, standing charges and green energy claims, see sscelectricity.com.
This Sunday, Cockhill Celtic will play the biggest game in the club's history as they face holders Rockmount in the FAI Intermediate Cup final at the Showgrounds in Sligo. Kick-off is 2 p.m. and there's full live match commentary on our website, highlandradio.com. Highlands coverage of Cockhill Celtic in the FAI Intermediate Cup final is with Lynch Windows Buncrana, Ireland's trusted window and door specialist, delivering the highest standards in residential and commercial glazing projects. Visit lynchwindows.ie. All right, we'll do a quick run around then on just staying with politics before we move on to other things. Discussions on... We're hearing calls from a number of areas for the establishment of a rural political party. I think Deputy Michael Fitzmaurice is suggesting that there's a farmers group that was really recently established that's also talking about it. Do we need another political party? Do we need one with a specific focus on rural issues? Richard Logo, could we find it really not doing an awful lot other than maybe pushing against, climate change proposals, the green policy and that type of stuff? Or maybe that's what we need. What do you think?
Well, I think the current crop of rural independent TDs have obviously realised that they're actually doing a pretty good job representing the interests of their constituents. If you take the likes of Matty McGrath, the Healy Rays and many others, I mean, they've certainly punched above their weight as independents. Perhaps they've decided now that it's more in their interest to work as a collective group.
But they're achieving that in support of the government, though. It's by backing the government that they get their little sweeteners, though. They wouldn't be forthcoming if they were just a rural party, or perhaps they could still go into government supporting the government. I don't know.
Well, don't forget, look at the arithmetic of the current Dáil. I mean, if they were to suddenly withdraw their support from the government, I think the government would be in an awful lot of trouble and we'd see a very quick general election. I would think that they've obviously been working as a technical group inside Dáil Éireann for some years, and that's generally worked because that's given them pooled speaking rights, which they wouldn't have if they were just standalone independents. So perhaps they've decided they're taking the logical step. And I'm not. This is not my personal view, but I hear an awful lot of people, certainly in Donegal, who'd be very unhappy with some of the policies of the Greens, particularly around things like turf cutting and all of that. So maybe they feel that they can punch even more above their weight as a formal party than as a kind of a loose group as they are at the moment.
Yeah, and I'm not sure any proposals actually necessarily includes them or not. I haven't read that, but it may or may not, Richard. But it would make sense if it were to. What do you think, Councillor Martin Harley? If Fine Gael, would you like to see a new party representing rural Ireland primarily?
Well, I know Michael Fitzmaurice has talked about this before. He is championed this on different occasions over the last number of years. C.H. Gran champion one couple of particular issues, but if you go in if you're elected as a TD, you're expected to work on issues that affect all of the people of all of Ireland. No disrespect to the Healy Rays, but the Healy Rays don't really care what happens outside Kerry.
Yeah, but no disrespect. A lot of people feel the current government doesn't care about anything that happens outside of Dublin.
But no, well, I don't think that is correct. No, but well,
why don't you hop on the train down to Dublin and tell them about it?
No, but if you were living in Dublin and paying $2,500 a month rent to try and live there, and I wouldn't. If
only a government had the power to build more houses and better infrastructure, so that people didn't feel they had to live in Dublin.
Yeah, but I suppose Dublin is at a full capacity. That's why people are commuting from towns like Tullamore and Kilkenny and to Dublin every day to work, because it is, and they're spending 2.5 to 3 hours a day in their cars, which is not good for their family life. And then probably one of the things that happened through the pandemic is this working from home has if your job allows you to do that, it means that people have more time at home, which is probably one of the good things that came out of the pandemic. But it's not, if you're in a business like Maria or myself that that you have to be on site. That's not much good to you.
I think the majority of people in this county are employed in businesses that they couldn't work remotely. Maybe they're living here outside of their desk job in Dublin, but between the fishing and agriculture and hospitality. Go ahead, anyway.
You have 5,000 people working in Letterkenny and American companies that can work from home 2 or 3 days a week now. So if your corporation tax goes higher, you do worry, will them companies be there in 10 years' time? And that is a worry. No matter who is in government, that have to decide to stick up the corporation tax.
Okay, so yours is a no, you don't think we do, and the corporation tax is going up to at least 15, isn't it? Anyway, Maria Rush, could you see yourself voting for a new party that claims to, have rural Ireland at its core?
From a farming background, so yeah, absolutely. There was a political party in Ireland in 1938 or 39, as far as I remember, Clan Natal one.
Yeah.
And they were one of the newest parties that were created after the Free State was created. My understanding is that they filtered out in the 60s, and it was due to a decline in rural population, which in itself made sense if you look back historically. That is no longer the case. Why should our farmers and our people who live in rural Ireland not be speaking up and getting as much of a platform as everybody else? We've had conversations in this county in the last year about the whole idea of a MICA-centred political party. Why not? Why should we not speak up? Why should we not have groups? Now, of course, I do fully understand that if everybody's shouting all the time, how do we come to some agreement? But at the same time, we can't sit back and just say, well, you're not tallying with my views, so I'm not going to listen to you because you're not important. We are a country who's, whether we like it or not, we still depend on agriculture for everything. It is,
but it's possible this party also might, right? If you're going to go for rural Ireland, let's just say some of the measures that have been introduced as it relates to climate change affect us mostly. So a political party might say, right, we need to actually maintain and grow the national herd in terms of farming. We need to allow people to cut turf in bogs for their own use. We need to cut carbon taxes on cars, right, so people can drive to and from work in rural Ireland. Would you be happy enough voting for them, even though that's really a backward step in where we need to get if we are all in the agreement that climate change is actually happening? I mean, that's the reality, you see, isn't it?
Yeah, but again, it's two polarised, very, very polarised versions of something that has to happen. There has to be an amalgamation. Of course, we all want climate change to be restricted. We all want to do it. We're all doing our bit. We're all doing our best. But at the same time, we can't just say, this is my opinion, so you should change what you're doing. And actually, I'm going to correct myself as well, because I mentioned rural Ireland and agriculture as if they're exclusive. They're not. The urban Ireland can't exist without agriculture either. Food, everything is. And we tend to sometimes do that, don't we? We tend to talk about agriculture and rural Ireland as being one thing that doesn't affect the people.
Well, I think the war in Ukraine was a wake-up call to urbanites as to the importance of what farmers do.
Yeah, absolutely. And even now, where are all the tomatoes? What's happening here in my shop? Does the food not just get, arriving from space on a spaceship in the morning? No one ever stopped to think about where the food comes from, So, yeah, no, there's definitely, I think there's always room for positive voices, always, no matter what their point is. But I think the danger comes when you feel that your opinion is exclusive and that everybody else is wrong.
No, I get that. But then again, you'll see that, and it's funny the timing of these conversations, because I wouldn't say the Irish Farmers Journal did a hit piece on Sinn Féin, but it was an interesting headline in that they stated that farmers are scared stiff of a Sinn Féin government. But I just wonder, Richard, say, for instance, you have the established parties there, the current government at the moment, and then you have the opposition, and then you have more parties coming in. Say you did have MICA candidates, defective concrete candidates, and say you did have rural Ireland. It splits the vote, really. Actually, it could strengthen the hand of the likes of Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, because they probably would be more united, no?
I disagree with you, Greg, there, because the beauties of the Irish electoral system is that you do get the scope to get independence and all others elected to Dáil Éireann, where here in Britain there's no hope of that. I mean, Donegal did elect Tom Gildee many years ago on the back of having deflector TVs. So,
I believe he spoke once in the Dáil.
Well,
if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I know. Yeah,
that was an achievement in itself. But the fact is that the Irish electoral system does allow that. I think it's excellent. It does mean that we have to have coalition governments, which I actually back, and I think it's a good idea. I think I would certainly, whilst I personally, I'm not so sure I'd be voting for a party personally with an exclusively rural outlook, but I would think it would be an opportunity
throw them in the mix.
To be in the mix in government. And of course, as every politician will tell you, once you actually get into government, you have to do some kind of compromise on your principles in order to get over the wire. But nevertheless, I welcome it. I think, why not?
Why not? That's a good enough point. Yeah, indeed. Anyone travelling around Letterkenny over the last while will realise it's an absolute nightmare. I wouldn't like to be conducting business in it. If I was, I would actually be kicking up an absolute stink, because what the conversation people are having outside of Letterkenny is don't go near it, really, and that is not good for business, and it's not good for the town. Maybe that feeds into this question, because of course discussions are always ongoing about the future of public transport, private transport. They continue around Letterkenny and the county and the country as a whole. We're going to get new legislation soon on the use of scooters. And we were talking to a company this week that's going to hope to have scooters that you just drop off on the side of the street and jump on them. So we could see the more extensive use of them. As I say, there's talk about, town buses for Letterkenny and elsewhere. And then, of course, the ongoing campaign for a North West Rail link. So outside of flying cars, where do you see transport in Donegal being in 2030, Martin Harley? Do you think we'll still be chugging along in our diesels or trying to drag a 1-ton SUV with a 1.2 petrol engine? Don't see the front point to that, but anyway, it is what it is. Or do you think we will see something of a mini revolution over the next 7 or 10 years?
Realistically, Greg, I don't think so. If we're lucky enough to be living and well in 10 years' time, I don't think there'll be massive changes on that extent. But we talk away about rail. We need to look at rail. We need to see, is it viable? I don't know if it's viable or not.
Well, it just so happens I've got an expert in this area called Richard Logue, so I'll ask him. Richard Logue, is it viable? I thought we've already looked at that.
I've already talked extensively about this subject before, but what I would say is that we've been judging rail connections to a far higher standard than we ever do road connections. And the question as to is it viable, my answer to that is it viable not to do it, because I see it as an investment. If we're looking to grow the population, in other words, more housing, more jobs, then you need to have the backbone of that infrastructure in place. Does the population of Letterkenny as it stands at the moment support a rail connection? 100%. If you look at the border railway in Scotland linking Edinburgh to Tweedbank and Galashiels, those two towns, Tweedbank and Galashiels, have populations smaller than Letterkenny has. So really, in the bigger scheme of things, it is. I think we have been unduly conservative in the past about assessing these projects. And I also agree, by the way, not just about rail, but I also think we need to have a proper dual carriageway connection from Letterkenny down. That means.
So do you think we need to move past the conversation about whether it's viable or not and actually just move into the planning stage? Because it is the future, isn't it?
Planning stage. The question has already been answered in that we needed it maybe 20 years ago. And, our whole policy of just sitting down and going back to the drawing board every 5 years is just not working. We need to crack on and do this stuff now.
I just wonder if projects like the Twin Towns bypass will go ahead just with the way things are going. Martin, would you have those concerns? I know they're locked in and all that type of stuff, but I just wonder.
No, I would have no from meeting with the TAI back in the end of November, beginning of December last year. there's no issue with that. It will be going ahead.
Okay. But I think we need councillors like you and others. We need councillors like you and others not to be posing questions about rail, to trust the likes of Richard and others and just actually back it 100% and say, look, we are going to need this in the future, whether it's viable now or not. Do you know what I mean? I think we as a collective here in the Northwest need to move past like should we or shouldn't we and just crack on with it. Everywhere else has it and it's working. Why couldn't it work up here?
Yeah, well, suppose the only thing I'd be looking at, I look at the numbers that use the rail in other parts of Ireland, and that's why I would think to myself, is it viable? And that was why I mentioned the point, was it viable? Because I look at the numbers that are using the rail in different parts of Ireland, and so that's what.
Okay, well, we're running out of time, and I want to bring Maria back in on this, but I just want you to talk to that. Martin's concerned, I think, at the low level of rail usage elsewhere, and maybe that's an indicator that it might not be successful up here, Richard.
I disagree. There's two things that restrict the use of rail at the moment in Ireland as a whole, and that's the lack of services into places. I have a railway map, which you can see on the video, big hole in the northwest. Basically the railway doesn't run very late at night. The last train from Dublin to many locations is at about 5:30 or 6 p.m. in the evening. So there needs to be a massive expansion. Now, we're hopeful that the All-Ireland Strategic Rail Review report will actually underwrite a lot of the things I've been talking about regarding the rail, the future of rail. But basically, experience elsewhere shows that if you provide the services, as they've done between Derry and Belfast, and run them, late at night, people use them.
Okay. Right, in the last minute then, should we focus just on the Letterkenny situation, Maria? Because it is a town that you travel into and work in. I mean, it can't continue as is, whether e-scooters or town buses or complete overhauls required. Something has to be done.
Wouldn't it be great if we had a bridge over the Swilly?
I think you'd need 2 or 3 at this stage, but yeah, go on, one will do.
I feel like I spend most of my life on the Port Road at the minute, coming in and out of Newton, to be very honest. And you mentioned the effect on businesses, and I can tell you for a fact it is affecting businesses. We have lost members who are no longer willing to sit for 40 minutes into Letterkenny and out of Letterkenny to go to the gym. That's the truth. You talk about planning and future planning. It seems that there's traffic lights just arriving everywhere. It's like decoration at this point. I would hate to be an ambulance driver or a driver of the emergency services in this town at the minute. Every time I see blue lights, I feel not only for the person that they're going to, but for the people trying to drive through the town. I fully understand that infrastructure is important, that things need to be done. There have been great improvements in the town in the last 10 years. But I think, again, we're back to planning. It's 200 years since
all the work's going on at the moment doesn't necessarily actually improve the throughput or flow of traffic. Let's not. I mean, that 4 lanes was hold. I was chatting to a fella. He was late for his wedding in the 70s because of road works on the 4 lanes. I thought he was a brilliant character. So these things are great and pretty and lovely cycle lanes, but they're not actually really increasing or improving the flow.
Well, there were still 4 lanes there 5 years ago, 10 years ago. There's no difference now, except that, there's trees and it's looking lovely. But, I don't know. We talk about planning. We talk about futurizing things. Over 200 years ago, somebody sat in a meeting in New York and said, here, this is going to get very busy very quick, and we better put grids in to make life easy for people. And they did. What the London Underground, correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, was the 1800s as well.
Yep. And a lot of it was built in open countryside, and they developed around it.
Yeah. And I travel to London quite often, and I have never had issue. It's a joy. You land, you turn up. Where am I going? That's how I get there. And just to finish quickly, we had a guy applied for one of our jobs recently from a large country in Europe who couldn't understand when Emmett rang him back to explain that you can't live in Dublin and work in Letterkenny at 6 o'clock in the morning because it's a 3.5 to 4 hour commute. And on the map, he was looking at Ireland thinking, my wife has got a job in Dublin. We're moving to Dublin. I'm willing to travel to Letterkenny for my work. He couldn't understand that there would not be infrastructure in place for that to happen. So we're losing out bigger than just what's happening at the town at the minute.
I wish we had another hour. Maria Rush, fitness instructor with Rush Fitness and blogger at Maria Living Out Loud. Where do people go to find Maria Living Out Loud? Instagram, all over the place?
It's just Facebook. It's the same page as the S-Mum blog, Greg. I just renamed it because I find myself unable to write as a mummy. I don't want to share my kids' lives anymore. It's not fair.
That's your call. That's another interview. All right, listen, thanks very much indeed. Appreciate it. Martin Harley, thank you very much as always for accepting our invite. Great to have you.
Thank you, Greg.
Right, bye-bye. And last not least, Richard Lowe, great to see you again. And hopefully it's not too long before we have you back on.
My pal Troy Gallagher, great ambassador for Letterkenny, who's listening in down in Dublin. He's been doing a lot of stuff down at the Global Irish Forum and promoting Letterkenny big time as well this week.
Indeed. Great man. All right, thanks so much indeed. Take care of yourself.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €100 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
In 2003, the Special Olympics changed Ireland forever. 20 years later, we continue to transform the lives of children and adults with an intellectual disability. Some athletes will represent their country. Some will learn to run, jump, or even speak for the first time at a Special Olympics club. But all will laugh, compete, and belong together. Please support them by donating today at specialolympics.ie or give what you can to our bucket collectors on Friday, April 21st. Thank you.
You can now save up to 30% on cash fares on eligible TFI Local Link routes when you pay using your TFI Leap card or with the TFI Go app. For more information, visit transportforireland.ie. TFI Local Link is part of the Transport for Ireland network.
PDO Thread Lifts, the ultimate non-surgical lift for the skin, improving facial contours, lifting and tightening jowls, the neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Eudore. For help choosing the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Eudore, 07495 325 75.
Boyce Travel Ramelton provide quality tours to top attractions, including the Blackpool Illuminations and Legoland. For details on these and many more trips, including our popular shopping trips to Manchester, Glasgow, Galway, Dublin and Belfast, see Boyce Travel on Facebook.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Fancy a European city break this summer? Discover the beautiful cities of Barcelona, Cologne and Milan with Ryanair. 6 flights a week for summer 2023. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Dry and mostly sunny today. All through the morning and afternoon, but there will be a partial build-up of cloud later. Temperatures 13 to 16 degrees. Back with more after the news and obituary notices.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. Ukraine is to become a NATO member after all allies agreed to the move. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg says once the war in Ukraine ends, Kyiv must have the deterrence to prevent new attacks. It comes after Mr. Stoltenberg yesterday pledged continued support for the country during his first visit to Kyiv since Russia's invasion just over a year ago. The Dáil has been told that inshore fishers in Donegal and other coastal counties must get a greater share of quotas, particularly as they cannot at the moment fish for salmon. Sinn Féin Marine spokesperson Deputy Padraig McLaughlin told Minister Charlie McConalogue that they need more access to herring, mackerel and other species. Replying, Mr McConalogue said he is striving to be fair and is consulting with the fisheries sector.
And right now the allocation of mackerel and herring to the inshore sector is not enough. It's not fair. So it's a public resource and you have a responsibility to make sure that you chair and referee discussions and make sure that what happens and what's left over is fair. And if you want to unite the industry, as we all do in Ireland, the best way to do that is to be fair to everybody in the industry.
Working together with the industry has been very important and us all pushing the same boat. On the Northwest Herring, I have recently launched a consultation actually on that to see about reviewing it, particularly with the inshore sector.
The Irish Hotels Federation says while the Easter season was a relatively positive one for Donegal, summer bookings still haven't returned to pre-pandemic levels in the county. Local spokesperson Paul Diver says while the domestic market remains strong, the international market still hasn't returned to 2019 levels, and as of now, bookings are down on what would have been expected before COVID. However, Mr. Diver says there is still some positivity, particularly in terms of Donegal's reputation as a value for money destination.
When the country was in lockdown, it brought a lot of domestic visitors to Donegal that were never here before, and a lot of that business is turning into repeat business, so hopefully we'll see them coming back this summer. The feedback that we're getting here in Donegal with the domestic market that we've had over the last couple of years is the value for money that they received, and they really feel that there's a huge amount of things to see and do in Donegal, and they get good value for money in hotels and restaurants and pubs, so that's positive.
The cross-border digital project ERNAC says its presence makes the Northwest a prime location for disruptive technologies which explore new areas of innovation. The EU-backed initiative, which is run by Donegal County Council and Derry City and Strabane District Council, has secured €6.6 million in the past 6 months for the digitisation of public services and SMEs. Programme Manager Dr. Katrina Strain says there is no other region of Europe with such a comprehensive digital support structure available.
So it's going to lead to a whole new range of companies, and the existing companies in the region will need to upskill in order to keep up to date and to keep current. That's really important for the region at the moment. As far as I'm aware, there's no other organisation in Europe that has attracted this level and type of funding at this stage of the new EU budgeting period. So it's really great for this region, and it provides an opportunity for the whole region to lead in the whole area of disruptive tech.
Changes to Ireland's abortion laws are expected following a major review of current legislation. According to the Irish Times, the report, carried out by barrister Mario O'Shea, recommended 10 law changes and 60 operational changes. It includes making the 3-day waiting period prior to a termination optional and an end to the criminalisation of doctors who carry out an abortion outside circumstances permitted by law. Alana Ryan, Women's Health Coordinator with the National's Women's Council, says any decisions made need to be grounded in evidence.
There are substantive changes which are required. I think it looks like, thankfully, we are going to see some evidence-led legislative reform. But this isn't a personal or a political decision. This has to be one which is grounded in the evidence and indeed the new World Health Organization abortion care guidelines, which just came out last year.
We could find out today if Rishi Sunak, the UK Prime Minister, will fire his deputy after spending the night considering the findings of a report on his behaviour. Dominic Raab denies allegations of bullying. Rishi Sunak needs to decide whether Mr Raab, one of his closest allies, has broken ministerial rules. Dave Penman leads the UK's FDA union, which represents civil servants. He says the Prime Minister's dithering is unacceptable.
He's the First Minister of the civil service. He has a responsibility to his civil servants to ensure that they're protected from bullying, harassment, and that they're treated with respect. This is not treating those civil servants with respect.
Weather forecast dry and mostly sunny this morning, staying mostly dry and sunny for the afternoon as well, but some build-up of cloud. Top temperatures today 13 to 16 degrees Celsius, moderate to fresh northeast breezes. It looks set to be largely dry overnight with clear spells. Minimum temperatures 5 to 8. Again, a moderate east to northeast breeze expected. Tomorrow Saturday, again largely dry, but more in the way of cloud. Some showers possible later in the day. Top temperatures on tomorrow Saturday hitting 11 to 14 degrees in moderate northerly winds. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notices this Friday morning, April 21st. The death has occurred of Patsy Quinn, Cavan Hill, Lifford. His remains will repose at his home today from 1 p.m. until 9 p.m. Funeral leaving there tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlough, Lifford, followed by burial in the family plot in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Hughie Sweeney, the Farragans, Drumkeen. Hughie's remains will repose at his late residence today from 4 p.m. until 10 p.m. and from 12 noon until 10 p.m. tomorrow, with rosary both evenings at 9 o'clock. Funeral arrangements to be confirmed later. The death has occurred of Johnny Patton, Glebe Hollow, Stranorlar. Reposing at the home of his son Mark Patton, Mullinachose, Ballybuffet, from 2 p.m. today. Funeral leaving there on Sunday at 10:15 in the morning for Requiem Mass in the Church of Mary Immaculate Stranorlar at 11 a.m. Interment afterwards in Drumbo Cemetery. Rosary each night at 9 p.m. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of Rachel Connolly, 1 Ballymagan, Buncrana, reposing at her home today from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. and tomorrow from 1 p.m. until 8 o'clock. Wake is strictly private to family and close friends only and is strictly private on the morning of the funeral. Removal on Sunday morning at 10:15 a.m. to St Mary's Church, Cockhill for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Rachel's Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to Jigsaw Ireland, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Rosaline Clark, née Doherty, 3 Barn Isle Road, Kevinsfort, Sligo. Reposing at her home at 3 Barn Isle Road, Kevinsfort, Sligo today from 4 p.m. until 7 p.m. Mass of the Resurrection will be celebrated tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. in St Murdoch's Cathedral, Ballina, which can be viewed live on the parish livestream. Burial afterwards in League Cemetery. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Alzheimer's Day Centre, Ohamore, Sligo, via Fihely's Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Desi Graham, 130 Lisnafin Park, Strabane, reposing at his home today from 12 noon. Funeral leaving his home on Sunday morning at 9:20 a.m. for Mass in the Church of the Immaculate Conception, Strabane at 10 a.m. Interment afterwards in the Strabane Cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers please to Mary Curie, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time please from 10 p.m. until 10 a.m. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Emer Jane Hegarty, The Swallows, Pillar Park, Buncrana. Emer's remains is reposing at her late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 a.m. travelling to St Mary's Church, Cockhill for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass with burial in the adjoining cemetery. Donations if desired to Donegal Hospice, care of Porter Funeral Directors. House private from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. The death has taken place of William O'Neill, 7 Drummond Road, Burndennet. Remains reposing at his home. Funeral leaving his home tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Clogher at 11 a.m. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers please to St Mary's Church, Clogher Restoration Fund, care of Quigley Funerals Directors. Family time from 10 p.m. tonight please. The death has taken place of Roisin Doherty, née McElhinney, Ballylosky Road, Carndonagh. Remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 11:45 a.m. going to the Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh for Requiem Mass at 12:30 p.m. Burial is afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on carndonaghparish.com. The death has taken place of Mary McGinley, Ohalati, Carrigart. Her remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral from there this morning, going to the Church of St John the Baptist for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family time before the funeral this morning. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. Loads coming up over the next couple of hours. Looking forward to Michael and Fionnuala joining us for That's Entertainment. We've got a bit of live music coming up for you as well in the next hour, so hopefully you will enjoy that, and more of your comments and what have you. But we do have a wee break to take. Stay right where you are, and we'll be back very, very shortly.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
For day-to-day healthcare needs, generations have trusted the experienced staff at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From coughs and colds to aches and pains, from vitamin supplements to first aid essentials. McGee's have what you need when you need it, with a full prescription service available daily. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
At Cooney's Home Interiors, we pride ourselves on offering you the very best in choice, quality and value on all home furnishings. Treat your home with a visit to Cooney's today and choose from our large range of suites, tables, beds, not to mention our large selection of home accessories. Our motto is, if you see it, you can buy it, and we will deliver it to your door. Cooney's Home Interiors, Letterkenny Retail Park. Style and perfection at incredible value.
Century Complex is the perfect family day out. Kids will love exploring Century Play. Lots of tasty food options available at Backstage and Baitas, and Century Cinemas are showing exciting kids movies, comedies, dramas, action movies and more. Call us on 074 91 21976 or visit centurycinemas.ie for more information.
Red hot weanling prices. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Find out what's driving weanling prices up by €200 a head. Farmers rush to transfer farms before Sinn Féin take power. Co-ops and agri-businesses targeted by credit card fraudsters. We analyse how milk prices will change in the coming months. The slurry additive that could slash Ireland's methane emissions. Plus, in Irish Country Living, don't miss our top tips for managing farm finances and tax.
Inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal, on sale now.
The fine for an unaccompanied learner driver has doubled from €80 to
wow, this is the best gig I've ever been to.
Don't get fined €160. There are better things to spend your money on. For a full list of updated fines, visit rsa.ie. Never drive unaccompanied on a learner permit. A message from the Road Safety Authority.
All right, stay right where you are. The bingo numbers are coming up for you shortly, but first I'm going to speak to Professor Curran, who's a Professor of Cybersecurity at Ulster University. Great to have you back on the show, Professor. How are you getting on?
Good, Greg. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Right. So we're being told that people in border areas could be affected by the new UK emergency alert system this Sunday, obviously because the cross-border people with Northern Irish phones and what have you. So what is actually happening on Sunday, Kevin?
Yeah, on Sunday at 3 o'clock, everyone with a 4G and a 5G phone in the UK will receive an emergency alert from the government. Okay, so it'll be, in comes a warning with a loud siren-like sound or a vibration lasting about 10 seconds. And then up on screen will come, of course, in this case, saying this is a test of emergency alerts, a new government service. In a real emergency, follow the instructions. Visit gov.uk for more information. This is a test. You do not need to take any more action.
It sounds very apocalyptic, but presumably it's in case there's floods in Surrey or something and they can target that particular area, or is it in a doomsday scenario like we might see in some Hollywood film, you have been selected?
Well, in some ways it is being repurposed because of the Ukraine war and the state of the world at the moment. But no, this has been in existence in countries like Canada, the Netherlands, Japan. And it is, of course, there for severe flooding or, emergency alerts for things, again, generally to do with the weather. or whatever else. But it could, of course, be repurposed for incoming missiles now, or whatever else. So again, it has been used by governments around, and they've tested it. And, you know, I mean, there is suspicion, of course, about any service like this, but it really is just the cell towers beaming out to all the phones connected. So even if you are roaming, you will get the message again, but in this case.
Yeah, and of course then you will have a group of people saying, I'm not signing up for this. There's a different motivation. There's no choice in this, is there? It's going to be beamed to your phone whether you want to or not, or is there a choice?
There is a choice. You can turn off the emergency alerts if you wish. Again, so you can go into settings and go to emergency alerts. Just type it in your Android or iPhone, and then you can deselect severe warnings and emergency alerts again. So you can turn it off for whatever reason. Now, a lot of newspapers have picked up that women who are suffering domestic abuse, who might have a second phone, that they're worried that maybe they'll be caught out again. But there's so many scenarios there. Well, why would someone have a phone near their abusive partner? But again, if you're worried about your second phone going off, of course, you can turn it off, then it will not get the message, or you can put it into flight mode. But if you have it on silent and vibrate only, it will sound. So therefore, the only safe way is to turn it off, really, or put into airplane mode if you're worried about someone finding your second phone through this emergency alert.
Yeah, indeed, of course. And there are other reasons why people might have two phones that they don't want to get caught out either. We're going to see this in the Republic of Ireland as well. I think the EU are expecting all countries to have it. The latest I heard from the communications minister is that they're working on it, and we could see something similar in a year or two in the Republic of Ireland as well.
You could. I mean, to me, it benefits the country again, but because in the future, parts of the internet could go down again. So really, it's we don't get severe weather here. And of course, the floodings that we do get here, which destroy homes and everything, but that's gradual again. We generally get the people out on emergency alerts. So we don't have as much, but now that, of course, that the world has changed geopolitically again, that alerts like this could be very, very useful. So I can see all countries going to this because it doesn't cost much, really. And there is no government creep here. They're not gathering information again. Government ministers, cabinet ministers, their partners, their sons, they will also get it. Again, it's just, to me, it's best practice in modern era.
It's not unusual in countries like America, is it, in terms of, where hurricanes are likely or tornadoes are likely. They've lived with this for an awful long time. And I think it's used as well if there's active shooters in the area. And I think also too in missing persons, particularly as it relates to children, I think. But certainly the first examples I've given, it's par for the course in many states in America and other countries as well, of course.
It is indeed. And the one you referred to about the missing kids, that's called the Amber Alert, after a young girl, Amber, was kidnapped. So nowadays, whenever a kid goes missing, they try to block off all the routes, given the time that they were missing. And really, it has led to captures again. So that's a wonderful system in case we're missing a kidnapped child again. But
you wouldn't be concerned about the electromagnetic wave that will sweep across Britain and Northern Ireland with all of these phones going off at the same time. But I believe they're always pinging towers anyway, so I don't think this is going to lead to a particular surge, is it?
We're surrounded by magnetic.
Literally, I'm sitting here.
Your radio is broadcasting every day to have the country, and that's electric magnetic frequency.
I've got a 5G phone sitting in my front pocket. That's pretty worrying, to be honest with you. Every time someone texts me, but yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't believe that rubbish about the virus being transmitted through the airs again. And by the way, again, your 5G is less dangerous too than your 4G. If they're going to turn the 5Gs off, they've got to turn the 4Gs off as well. So.
All right, okay. Any views on the I mean, I've never seen so many celebrities and journalists crying about the loss of a blue tick. I know it's not necessarily in the cybersecurity area, but actually it kind of is, because I think Elon Musk in removing those ticks has made it more difficult for two-factor authentication to check that I can't say the word. Authentication, two-factor authentication, though you can use a third-party app for it. Any views on his moves and what he's doing there?
That's fine. Only a fraction of people actually, which really surprised me. Less. It was about 2% were using a two-factor authentication. But you're right, SMS authentication is not ideal. It's better than nothing. But of course, there's other ways to authenticate. But the blue tick surprised me. Look, at Elon has surprised me. The ship hasn't sunk yet. But the one thing he did right from the start, I thought didn't make sense, was removing the blue tick, because we have to have points of reference in our, pillars of the society as well, to be able to see what's going on online, especially now in a generative AI society where things can be faked so easily. So I never got that move. I believe in his other things. Now, I do think it could be a success, because there is a lot of features being brought in now that you can get on Twitter. But I always thought that was a bad move on his behalf.
What I don't understand too, Kevin, is that, and who am I to question the richest man in the world? But he seems to be very focused on the United States of America. I mean, there are millions of people in African countries, in India, elsewhere, that simply could not afford the subscription that he talks of. So he talks about levelling the playing field and sort of taking this privilege from the rich who perhaps could afford to buy one. But he's excluding so many people in countries that probably need that platform to, fight tyranny or governments or what have you, who simply could not afford the subscription to be able to write longer form messages and to edit them.
You're right. He did try to have, differential pricing throughout the world again, but I mean, it was still a little bit expensive. But look, at the end of the day, he's a business. He's paying large salaries. The salaries of engineers now, they're 100,000 plus, and in America, 200. These are incredible wages he has to pay. He has to keep the lights on some way. It's a business. Look, if there's a better alternative to Twitter, of course, we had Mastodon. Let people move there, So, and again, he's charging now for the API. So he actually he's actually making it into a real business. But he's deeper than the vast majority of people, and he cares deeply about the truth. He really has a chip on his shoulder about truth. Again, and he likes to hear debate. So he's doing things which are actually unprecedented.
But there are still he obviously is labelling media as government funding, and I have no problem with that. Actually, I think that's a good thing. But that being said, he is walking a line. Tesla, very heavily funded by governments, not just the American government, but the Chinese government. His SpaceX program, very much tied into it. I don't see any labels above his other companies pointing to the fact that he's receiving all of this funding. And then in the irony of ironies for me, he got away with treating people special and then reintroduced the exact same scheme himself by paying out of his own pocket the likes of William Shatner, LeBron James and Stephen King to have blue ticks. So he's created the same thing he's just got rid of, the thing he didn't want.
Yeah, but he's a bit of a showman. He just is. Yeah, he's a maverick in that sense. But I did, and there was a lovely interview with the BBC there lately again. That people saying, the cesspool of Twitter, and he asked for examples of the report.
He was hung. He was hung out. That was just catastrophic. It really, really was, that interview.
You've got to bring your A game to an interview with Elon Musk.
And be able to back up what you say. He literally was able to give a perfect live example of everything he says about the mainstream media, that they say stuff without being able to back it up, and it was there evident in that interview. And then the BBC cut that part of the interview out, which further made his point.
He is incredible. In fact, I'm friends with his ex-wife, Justine Musk.
Yes.
Yeah, so I message her from time to time.
Okay, well, can you get me a blue tick? No, I'm only joking. I don't want one. The one thing I do have in common with Elon Musk, and I only really discovered it recently, is great concerns about artificial intelligence and where we're going in relation to that. And that definitely goes into the realm of cybersecurity, and anyone who has an interest in technology. The speed with which that is developing, and it will develop, is absolutely unbelievable. We are getting emails saying we can write your press releases. It's only a matter of time before there are, AI generated DJs on Spotify that will be able to target audiences in specific areas with local news and local information. I mean, it's going to change every area of industry really, really quickly, I think, anyway. Kevin, I don't know what you think.
No, the hype is justified in a lot of ways. I try not to be either, saying, no, we're years away, which some people believe, from general AI, which is a worry here, where a machine replicates humans. But this latest, what's happening now in generative AI again with ChatGPT and others again is quite remarkable. again, it's the language model is done, but it come back with amazing answers for you. But it's the code aspect that really got a lot of us computer scientists who don't work in AI necessarily day to day. We were shocked where you can draw a picture on a napkin of the way you'd like your app screen to work and just upload it, and then it'll give you the template, the code, which takes coding.
Yep.
Programming is as complex as it actually. It really takes years, but this comes back with the code. Again, which we thought a computer could never do that. We always knew computers can do speech to language translation, all other things, but to be able to develop code with a high level pronunciation and then say, no, correct that, add another button, remove that button. Now can you do this? It's hard to explain to someone non-technical. Then of course the AI, the videos of which are being done now, again, created by AI is superb. My son, when he was 11, was doing this course with Disney remotely through Zoom. This is 11 years ago, and he was about 12 at the time, and everyone else in the class was working for Pixar and Disney, and they were all 20s and 30s, and they were Jose in Brazil and everything else. But my son was precocious in that, but he gave it up because he's seen what was happening with AI. He said, my job will be nothing, because it would take him days to do 2 or 3 seconds of animation.
Yeah.
And he's seen the writing on the wall, and he stopped completely and moved on. And he's been right now. He's shown me stuff that he can't believe, and he understands 3D and animation. And it's just that machine.
And music creation. They created a song using Drake and The Weeknd. And it is a banger if you're into that type of music. Really remarkable. Generated their vocals, generated the lyrics and the music. And I saw someone comment, and I thought it was quite true. Don't blame the AI. Blame the genre. If it's that easy to replicate and to create a decent track, the genre needs to look at itself. You were going to say finally there, Kevin?
Yeah, forgetting about is it the end of the world? Really, it's hard to know, because people love the Cassandra complex, talking about the apocalypse and the end of the world, and also the God complex, and thinking that an AGI will take over the world. It's easy for them to say. But my main worry about it is, and this has to change, there was a professor in the United States who someone typed into ChatGPT, tell me about any lawsuits against any professors for sexual harassment. ChatGPT came back with the name of this professor, saying he went to Canada to this conference and he was accused of this and this and this. And it was a complete lie, and there were references to articles, and it would look so genuine, like a proper article or, sourced article. The references, the newspaper articles were made up by ChatGPT. This guy was libeled forever on the web around the world, and it's happened again in another case in Australia again. So what you have is, now for years, Google and the rest have got away with saying, look, we're only the carriers. We're not the media people. We're not responsible for what people say. And we've largely gone ahead with that. But in the way that we do with a phone call, if someone rings you up on the phone and says, I'm going to murder you, Greg, we don't get all annoyed with BT and Eircom and say that they're responsible.
Yeah, I get you.
But that's a bit like the internet for news. But now, once they started also removing articles because it was too left-wing or right-wing, because they are left-wing, right? Then they actually became newspapers, really, media outlets.
Publishers, yeah.
But with ChatGPT making up lies like this, I mean, there's going to be laws to that.
But the problem is this is a race to the bottom, though, because every big company, even Elon Musk, he's just hired in a load of people. You've got Microsoft doing what they're doing. You've got Google. They're rushing it out, and a lot of these problems haven't been ironed out. And then, of course, another case in Germany, a German magazine is being sued by the family of Michael Schumacher because they published, for what reason I don't know, a artificial intelligence created interview with Michael Schumacher, and this is where we're at. All right, Kevin, it's fascinating as always. Could do another hour easily. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
Take care of yourself and say hello to Mrs. Musk for us. Goodbye. Okay. Right, so do you want to hear the ad that's running before we take our own ads? The bingo number's coming up right now. Here's the ad that, as it relates to this text alert that may affect some of you if you have a Britain and Northern Ireland phone contract or SIM.
This is an important announcement for those living in or visiting border counties on Sunday, April 23rd. Between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. this Sunday, the UK government will test a new emergency text alert system. You may receive a message on your phone or mobile device, followed by this tone, and a vibration for up to 10 seconds. There is no cause for concern and no action needs to be taken by you. For more information, visit gov.ie/alerts.
The county's number one talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Friday the 21st of April. You're playing on the yellow sheet. The reference number is S20. It's game number 16. The numbers are 53, 39, 49, 22, 80, 34, 31, 90, 21, and finally 40. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
You may have heard others making claims, but there's only one number one, and it's official. Kia is once again Donegal's best-selling brand in 2023. Call in today to iMotors Letterkenny or Malin, or visit imotors.ie to find out why Kia is Donegal's best-selling brand.
Are you tired of unreliable and inefficient appliances? Upgrade to Bosch, the brand that delivers superior quality and performance. Plus, their advanced technologies and energy-efficient features will save you money on your utility bills. Choose Bosch and experience the difference for yourself. Speak to our expert team now at Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
Letterkenny Medics are pleased to announce that Dr. Paula Gomez has joined the practice and is now taking appointments for free meal screening with services that include complete medical examinations, physical examinations, blood tests, cervical smears, advice on menopausal fertility hormone profile, AMH urinalysis, cervical smear, ECG and 24-hour blood pressure monitoring. Choose your level of service you need today and find out more by booking your immediate appointment by visiting letterkennymedics.ie. Letterkenny Medics. We listen if you want to talk.
The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127. The 9 till Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The world is getting a little more. But maybe more could mean something else. More means more proactive green energy solutions. More means more wind turbines and more recycling. More means more biodiversity and more energy storage. More means more hydrogen and more solar farms, because more clean energy means more efficient living, means more thriving communities, means more energy autonomy. That's why we're more than Mona. Learn more at morethanmona.ie. Board Mona.
PDO Thread Lifts, the ultimate non-surgical lift for the skin, improving facial contours, lifting and tightening jowls, the neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor. For help choosing the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor, 07495 325 75.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
So you're saying mental health difficulties can be smaller things?
Yeah.
Like trouble sleeping?
Yeah.
Or if I'm always stressed, like?
Yeah.
Or often anxious?
They're all part of your mental health.
Thought those were separate.
Nope. They're all connected.
Hey, how do you know all this anyway?
Sure, I've been there myself.
Anxiety, ongoing stress, low mood or trouble sleeping, they're all part of your mental health. Make the connection and find support that can help at yourmentalhealth.ie from the HSE.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Now we are speaking to a couple of guests here ahead of a Mouthpiece open mic night, which is taking place in the Cottage Bar on Tuesday, the 25th of April, just after the weekend. It's at 7 p.m. It's a monthly night of music, poetry and comedy, which has already picked up a lot of steam in the short while it's been running. We have a couple of guests with us. We're going to be hearing Yuri Zuk, I beg your pardon, Yuri Manzuk performing. He's going to be performing on Tuesday night as well, but we'll get to Yuri in a moment. He's just 14 years of age, but supremely talented, I'm told. First, let's say hello to Kaylee Barry, one of the organisers of the Mouthpiece Open Mic Night. Good morning to you. Morning. How are you keeping?
Very good, thank you.
It's good to have you with us. Okay, so talk to me about this this concept.
So I was actually approached by a lady called Svetlana Babienko. She had inquired about places to display artwork as part of an exhibition that the Ukrainians were running. Birds Flying High is the title of the exhibition. Her idea was really that it's an exhibition to thank the Irish people for welcoming them into the community. So I took that idea and I approached Stephen Crane, and we discussed maybe creating a night that we could display the artwork as well as maybe including some Ukrainian musicians, and it's just kind of gone from there.
So this runs in any case, and now there is a focus on also bringing in our new Ukrainian neighbours to perform their arts.
That's exactly it. And I have to say, from the moment the idea went out there, we've had a truly warm and welcoming response to the idea. We've been inundated with musicians who want to participate, with artists and volunteers in terms of cooking food. We have a number of prizes that are going to be available for raffle on the night, which have been donated by local artists and sponsored by Amelia's in Letterkenny, Irish Design and Gifts. So we've had a seriously lovely response from this, you know, and that's what the night really is kind of embracing the Ukrainian people. And
right, so how's it set up? You go in on Tuesday night into the Cottage Bar. It's a lovely setting, right? So you take your tables, you just sit around, and then how does the night unfold from there?
Absolutely. Well, it will be the first Mouthpiece that will be outside this year, so there'll be plenty of room and hopefully the weather holds out. As you know, the Cottage is a beautiful bar and they're always so open to supporting creative people. So you couldn't really get, again, a more warm and welcoming place to kind of hold this. The exhibition will be starting at 4 o'clock in the evening and running till about 6. We will have a Ukrainian DJ playing in that time. We will have a mix of Irish and Ukrainian food. And then the music will be kicking off at 7 o'clock and it will run on through the evening.
Yes, I know, Yuri, I said I wasn't going to ask you questions, but I kind of want to just ask, how are you? Can you talk to us a little bit about the instrument you're going to be playing for us? Is that... No? Okay, that's fine. I don't want to put him on the spot there. He's focused on playing the music, but this is a saxophone, isn't that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. And just so Yuri can focus on the music, he is 14 years of age. He'll be performing Let It Bloom, Hollyhocks Bloom. It's by a Ukrainian composer. Do you want to play that for us now? I'll start the music and you can pick it up from there. Okay, this is Yuri. Well done, Yuri. Well done indeed. Just 14 years of age. He has just performed Let It Bloom, Hollyhock Bloom. So there's something different and fair play. That's not easy to do, is it?
No, and actually,
Kaylee, to come up and perform with a backing track and wear headphones and all that kind of stuff. So well done. You should be very proud. Go ahead.
Yeah, the evening is always a mix of different creative talents. Poetry, we've had opera down there before. It's a wonderful evening that's already so well established. And congratulations to everyone that's involved in it. It's the best night in the month, genuinely, down in the town.
Yeah, and it's variety, literally, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's all voluntary, it's all people donating their time and their skills and their talents to create an evening of joy and community in the creative arts. So I think that's what's really beautiful about this night. And now we're inviting the Ukrainians to come and be a part of it.
Yeah, fantastic. And we have a wealth of entertainment. And the good thing about different people from different backgrounds, artists are all learning off each other, aren't they? And
100%.
Different influences. And who's to say that we won't see Yuri there performing with I don't know, a fiddle or something.
Well,
do you know
actually,
what I mean? That's the kind of stuff can happen.
It does happen where they people meet other creative people and they come together, and that, we have a couple of acts who are actually playing in two different groups, so it's a lovely kind of just mix and a chance for people to get to know each other and
then non-creative people like me can just sit there and watch.
Yeah, and enjoy.
Wondering how people are so bloody talented, but it's good to see. So it runs the latest one, it's every month. It's in the Cottage Bar, Tuesday the 25th of April at 7 p.m. And all of the artists will be there. How many artists do you generally get to play on any given night?
We've been in...
It is an open mic, so really...
It is. There's the opportunity to get up, definitely, and play or do whatever it is that you do on the night. Generally, there's a kind of schedule, because people do message Stephen often, and he puts them kind of together in a scheduled system. But it could be up to 10. We have, I think, closer to 15 for this event. So people, again, have really wanted to be involved. They'll get up and do 2 or 3 songs or do sort of 10 to 15 minutes a set.
And is the art exhibition separate or part of this particular...
It will be separate in that it starts at 4:00, but it will...
It's in the same venue?
It's in the same venue.
Excellent.
So it will be part of the same evening, it'll be available to go and view. It will actually be for sale, some of the artwork there as well.
And did I hear you mention prizes?
Yes.
Talk to me about that again.
So once again, we were sponsored by Francis Spears of Amelia's. We have gifts including work by Audrey Henry, Fiona Herbst, Karna Kane, Sheila Dwyer, Siobhan Montgomery. We have Light and Lerv and the Donegal Chocolate Man. This is a real hamper of the best artists locally.
Sounds like a really good, different night out, actually. Not terribly different, but you know what I mean.
It will be
Tuesday
great.
Night.
We also do have Stephen himself is a designer, and we'll have prizes from Stephen's Aulera, his company, Bougainvillea Visual Arts, and we have Without Willow as well, who have signed a CD for us. So it's going to be a great night for prizes, which pays for the evening now. Usually it's voluntary, but we are hoping this one to make it a bit special and give a little bit to everyone.
Okay, brilliant stuff, Katie. Thank you. Yuri, are you okay now? Yes. Did you enjoy that?
Yes.
Okay, and you're performing on Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Okay. Well, it's a man of few words but immense talent. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for
so
joining
much.
us. Some say I perhaps speak too much, so if I could get somewhere in between me and Yuri, we might get a perfect person. Okay. Listen. Thank you very much indeed, Yuri Manzuk, who is living here now. His father still remains in Ukraine, but is here with his mother and siblings, and of course Kaylee Bowery, one of the organisers of the Mouthpiece open mic night in Letterkenny. Just to remind you once again. It is on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. It's in the Cottage Bar. The music starts and the performances start at 7 p.m, but there is an art exhibition on the same site from 4 p.m. Yeah. So if you're looking for something different to do on a Tuesday evening, then why not? Okay, back with more shortly.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who aren't able to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Spring is here, and so too are the new arrivals at Green Shoes. Shop in store or online now from best-selling brands like Doc Martens, Una Healy and Echo. Also Riker, Kate Appleby, Tommy Bow and many more. Shop LK and One for All gift cards accepted in store. Visit Green Shoes and discover the perfect footwear to complement your style. Green Shoes at Market Square, Letterkenny Shopping Centre, Fulcara and online at greenshoes.com.
The Kilkenny Design Sale is now on. There's up to 50% off selected lines. Enjoy savings on your favourite brands across clothing, accessories, jewellery, homeware, gifting and much more. Sale runs until May 1st nationwide and on kilkennyshop.com.
The CFC Interiors Dairy Stock Disposal Sale is now on. Due to overstock, an incredible £1.5 million worth of stock must go. Don't miss our highest ever discount on selected ranges across all departments. The Stock Disposal Sale at CFC Interiors Dairy, Cookstown and Abbey Centre. Sale now on.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Fly with Aer Lingus on their new daily service to London Heathrow and connect onwards to 80 plus destinations worldwide, including New York and Boston. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
I'm getting nervous about these weather forecasts. Yesterday I was reading it out in good faith and it was far out as Fanand Lighthouse, but today I think it's just about right. Dry and mostly sunny this morning, staying mostly dry and sunny for the afternoon, but by evening there could be a partial build-up of cloud. Highest temperatures of 11 to 16 degrees. Tomorrow, by the way, Saturday is expected to be another largely dry day. Might be more cloud, though. A few possible showers later. Temperatures again around 11, 14 degrees. But as I say, I'm a bit nervous. Right, OK. We were speaking a little earlier on about Elon Musk and his role in Twitter and what have you. But he also has a company called SpaceX. And yesterday, he attempted to blast the biggest rocket, his Starship, into orbit. It didn't quite work out, I suppose, from our perspective, but I believe from his perspective and the team's perspective, an awful lot was learned and a lot was achieved. Let's see what David Moore, editor of Astronomy Ireland magazine, thinks about all of this. You like to look up at the stars, David. Elon Musk wants to go and live on them, I think. But as I say, to the casual onlooker, it seemed not a success, but to them, they got a lot of data and they seem quite confident going forward.
Yes, it's the way space exploration goes. You build this new, never launched before giant rocket, like the blue touch paper, as it were, and retire. It would have been great had it gone up almost into orbit, certainly over 200 kilometres above the Earth's surface, and splashed down around Hawaii, actually, almost either side of the Earth to where it was launched from Texas. But it wasn't to be a success. The important thing was that this monster rocket, the biggest one we've ever built, with 39 engines in the base of it, it almost seems ridiculous on paper. It did actually launch, I think it was 24 miles, about 40 kilometres above the ground, which is a great success to launch something that big. But unfortunately, it looks like some of the engines failed and it didn't achieve separation of the next stage, which would have led to the Starship, the piece that he wants to carry astronauts to actually go into orbit. So a success in some regards in that, it got 40 kilometres off the ground, but a bit of a disappointment, didn't achieve its full mission.
Yeah, and he has a different strategy in that relatively low-cost build, but also that they are fully reusable, and that would have been the aim, that the actual rocket that got it up as far as it did would return to Earth and be able to be reused again, as would the ship itself. And they seem confident that they're able to go again in another couple of months, for what it's worth.
Yep, he already said he's planning the next launch within a few months, and the scale of this particular project is almost ridiculous. It's almost Bond villain-esque. Musk plans to launch several of these per day to get people to Mars. In something, Jeff Bezos appeared in public on stage saying that they are going to put 1 million people on Mars by the end of this century. Now, there hasn't been anybody on Mars or even in orbit about Mars. In fact, nobody's even been around the moon in over 50 years. So to say something like that would be considered crazy if it weren't for the fact they were the 2 richest men in the world, and they've both got space companies, and they are literally putting their money where their mouth is. So when he has a major engineering success like this to get it off the ground, and his early rockets exploded as well. Now they're bringing in great revenue, launching rockets for his internet constellation of satellites and lots of other customers as well. So I'm sure this isn't a major setback. It would have been nice had it worked 100%, but it got off the ground. They're building more, and they're going to have several of these per day. I mean, if people know Liberty Hall, one of the tallest buildings in Dublin, this rocket is way over twice the height of that building.
Yeah, it's only when you see a person standing beside it that you actually see the scale. And a quick one, not to, I don't know if Caroline mentioned this to you, but I'm sure quite an interesting and rare eclipse event. I think a lot of people in Australia were able to view it, David. I presume you kept an eye on that too?
Yes, unfortunately no part of it at all was visible from Ireland. We will have a bit of eclipse later this year, partially visible from Ireland, but there hasn't been a total eclipse of the sun on this island since 1724, and there won't be another one till the year 2090. So if you want to see one, you have to travel. And this one was unusual in that the moon just happens to be exactly the right distance from the Earth to fit perfectly over the sun. And sometimes it's a bit too far away, and the moon doesn't quite cover the sun. You get what's called an annular eclipse. And this one was just on the border of those. It's called a hybrid eclipse. Part of it, the moon was just close enough to totally cover the sun. From other parts in the Pacific and Indian Oceans, it wasn't. So people gathered northwest Australia actually got to see the total eclipse, but a very short one at that. There's a big one coming actually in Mexico next year. We've had trips to solar eclipses before, and if people want to come on to Mexico and watch our social media, we have a travel company organising the details as we speak.
Now, David, I have to go, but I don't think any conversation with you would be complete if you didn't tell me about the frequency of your magazine and how people can subscribe to it.
Yeah, we're always looking for members who are fascinated by this topic. Beginners, we have a monthly magazine called Astronomy Ireland that will tell you all about what to see in Irish skies, what people have been seeing. Special members email every week to keep you up to date as well, and we're trying to promote interest in astronomy. So if you can spare about €1 a week on your hobby, do join Astronomy Ireland. All the details are on astronomy.ie. And a quick tip, this Saturday and Sunday, look at the moon. As soon as it gets dark in the early evening, you'll see the planet Venus is near it on Saturday night and Sunday night. In fact, we're setting up telescopes in the Dublin area on Saturday night to look at Venus and the moon up close in detail. So more details on astronomy.ie.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, David Moore. Now, that line wasn't great. I can assure you it's Venus that will be close to the moon over the weekend. Okay, a caller says, if you have a dual SIM and a UK number in Donegal, will we get the alert? I think it is if you are in earshot, so to speak, of the transmitters in Britain and Northern Ireland. Rather than your SIM, and I might have said something misleading, I think if you get your signal from a transmitter, it's the transmitter that's sending them out blanket-wise. So if your phone's connected to a Northern Irish transmitter, then you are going to get this warning. So 85 million phones connected at once. That's quite the electromagnetic wave being sent out at once. As I say, they're always pinging off the cell towers, aren't they? So your guest is allowed to say, my views are rubbish. Interesting, I guess, that it's also free speech. I'm not offended yet if I made that comment the opposite way round. Do you believe what Professor Kevin Curran was saying is rubbish? That's perfectly fine. You're not going to be limited here. He wasn't actually addressing anyone's particular views, but obviously they are the views that you hold. But you clearly believe what he says in calling your views rubbish. You believe they are rubbish. And I've said it there for you on the same programme around about the same time. And I've said it myself. So hopefully you feel that your free speech has been protected as he does feel his is.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
In 2003, the Special Olympics changed Ireland forever. 20 years later, we continue to transform the lives of children and adults with an intellectual disability. Some athletes will represent their country. Some will learn to run, jump, or even speak for the first time at a Special Olympics club. But all will laugh, compete, and belong together. Please support them by donating today at specialolympics.ie or give what you can to our bucket collectors on Friday, April 21st. Thank you.
Red hot weanling prices. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Find out what's driving weanling prices up by €200 a head. Farmers rush to transfer farms before Sinn Féin take power. Co-ops and agri-businesses targeted by credit card fraudsters. We analyse how milk prices will change in the coming months. The slurry additive that could slash Ireland's methane emissions. Plus, in Irish Country Living, don't miss our top tips for managing farm finances and tax.
Inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal, on sale now.
McGinley's Furniture have a huge spring sale now on. It includes selected suites, beds, mattresses, living room and dining room furniture. Also savings on occasional furniture, including lamps, pictures and mirrors. With up to 40% off. It's one furniture sale you don't want to miss. That's on right now at McGinley's Furniture, Portlink Business Park, Port Road, Letterkenny. See mcginleysfurniture.com.
Join Robert Mizell on Friday, the 21st of April at Mellon Country Inn, Omagh. Early dancing to DJ Stephen Doherty from 9 p.m. and Robert Mizell on stage from 11 p.m. through to 1 a.m. Admission £14, payable on the door. Overnight stay options available directly from the hotel. Contact 028 8166 1224.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
And you'll get to see the mugs of Michael and Fanula. They're joining me very shortly with That's Entertainment. But at 11 o'clock, let's get a news update in the morning and say good morning to Donna Marie. Good morning, Donna Marie.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A Letterkenny business owner says she has lost customers due to chronic traffic congestion in Letterkenny town. The traffic issues have been a growing concern for business owners in the town for an ongoing period of time. Speaking on this morning's 9 till noon show, Maria Rush of Rush Fitness explained how people aren't willing to sit in traffic for 40 minutes at a time to go to the gym. The Dáil has been told that inshore fishers in Donegal and other coastal counties must get a greater share of quotas, particularly as they cannot fish for salmon at the moment. Sinn Féin Marine spokesperson Deputy Padraig McLaughlin told Minister Charlie McConalogue in the Dáil that they need more access to herring, mackerel and other species. Replying, Minister McConalogue says he is striving to be fair and is consulting with the inshore sector. The stitching of several counties into one Dáil constituency should be abandoned. That's according to Deputy Mark McSharry, whose constituency is called Sligo Leitrim, but also includes parts of South Donegal and North Roscommon. Deputy McSharry has told his constituents in Donegal, including the towns of Ballyshannon and Bundoran, that however he does not take issue with the two counties pulled together, like Longford Westmeath. Almost €9,700 has been awarded to community and voluntary groups in Donegal. 9 groups were among the 128 groups across the country who received a combined total of over €213,000 in the fourth tranche of the Community and Voluntary Energy Support Scheme. The funding is to assist these groups in facing the rising energy costs. And finally, Dominic Raab has quit UK Deputy Prime Minister following an inquiry into bullying allegations. But in his resignation letter, Mr Raab says he doesn't agree with the conclusions of an investigation into claims he bullied civil servants. The details of the full report are yet to be seen, but it appears to have upheld some of the allegations surrounding his behaviour. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back again at 12 o'clock with more news, and until then, good morning.
Thank you very much, Donna Marie. Back after a very short break.
Hello, I'm Caoimhe de Barra from Trócaire, urging you to return your Trócaire box donation. Your support will bring emergency food baskets, urgent medical care and fresh, safe water to families in Somalia. Families who have lost everything in the worst drought in the country's history. Your help can make all the difference. Visit trócaire.org or call 1800 408 408. You see, it's not just a box, it's a lifeline. Trócaire, together for a just world.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the last hour of the 9 till noon show for this week, where we try and wind down a little bit. We talk about a lot of serious stuff and important stuff over the course of the week, but then it comes time to then where you want to ease yourself into the weekend, and that's what we do. It's called That's Entertainment. It's what Michael Leddy does. It's what Fionnuala Rabbit does. Michael Leddy, Majin Y, how are you keeping?
Hello,
Good
Greg.
to have you in studio with us.
Hello, Greg Hughes.
Just arriving. Like a late package that you've really been waiting for.
Wow, what does he want? He's definitely...
It's Fionnuala Rabbit.
He's definitely, yeah.
You know what I want, a pay rise.
I was going to say, is it staff evaluations time?
No, listen, come here. I'm not... Cancel that. That was a joke. I don't want any retold. Let's just leave it at that, all right?
No, not retorted.
Not this time. Okay. It's great to have you both in again. It feels like ages since I've sat in with you between the jigs and the reels. How are you keeping, Michael? How are you, by the way?
Great. I had a great old week watching Star Trek Picard every night. I saved up all the episodes, so I had a brand new episode every night.
Which is not like
heaven.
you. Because
this is heaven for me.
Yeah, but you in the past have sort of gone out of your way to watch them
Drag things
weekly.
out, yeah.
You know, the new series. I know you have your thing with your own series.
Yeah.
So why did you want to binge this one like that?
I watched the first couple episodes and it was obvious that it was going to work best binged, because it was all happening like 24, you know, it was all happening immediately after each other. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to sit out 6 weeks, save the last 7 episodes and watch them over the last week. It was the right thing to do. It was great fun.
Okay,
Great fun.
I'm going to start with Fionnuala, if that's all right with you, because Fionnuala has watched Luther, the Fallen Son, and I watched it during the week, you see. And I want to ask you about The Hunt for Raoul Moat, because
did you watch that?
No, that's
Did
one
you
I'm
watch
waiting to watch. I'm going to watch it as a film. Do you know that?
Yes,
sort of
I watched it as 3 hours,
which is exactly what you've been doing.
Yeah,
So we'll get
it'll
to you
work
on
that
that
way,
first. But let's start with Luther, the Fallen Son, because I went into this not knowing, Fionnuala, what quite to expect, and I enjoyed it. The story.
Were you a Luther fan? Or?
Oh yeah, watched it all. I like him. I always thought he'd make a great James Bond. I think, having watched The Fallen Son, and I mean this with respect, that I think it might be too late for him now, if you know what I mean. I know he plays a different type of character, but no, he just...
I think he's past the...
Age-wise, you mean?
I think so, yeah. And Daniel Craig was, you know, he's not a young chap. I just felt
Daniel Craig aged into it.
Yeah,
you know, it's one thing to age into it a bit. It's another thing to actually be... of a particular age when you start
into
off,
it, you
start off in it, because it's less kind of believable or whatever that's going to happen.
Unless they wanted to go with a veteran Bond.
I know, I'm pushing though. I feel like
I'm on QVC now. What's going on? And it's only those watching that will understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So sorry, we'll get to that. Probably what feels like it's going to be a shameless plug.
Yes. 100%.
But that's El Presidente and the owner of the station. Hey, come here. Have you gone to it?
I can fight it.
But I have to say, I didn't enjoy this as much as I thought I was going to. I really enjoyed Luther as it was going on. It's very good in I didn't really binge it. It was one of those ones where you kind of watched the season rather than binge the whole. I think it's 3 seasons that were prior to this. But going into this, it's a lot. And you're kind of like going, oh God, you must know somebody else that could give you a hand. You know, the kind of way. It's like, so basically what this is it's kind of, there's been a story that's sort of been going through the past. It was in the previous one that was on and that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, there was a criminal that they were after. Next minute, then they didn't get him in the last one, because if anybody watches Luther, there's always overarching as well as kind of individual stories that are going on. So this was part of an overarching story that was going on earlier on that never really was fully resolved. There was always a few threads hanging. So what they've done now is they've come back and they've done that, and they've done it as a movie. I found the movie a little bit long. For his kind of like,
of all the things
I'm the only one I'm the only one that can make this happen.
But of all of the things, its length wasn't the problem for me. The storyline, maybe it's very Luther-esque. It was really far fetched, and then they're all in the snow in his jacket, and
an exact same outfit he wears all the time.
Yeah, and the jacket's like the cape, which I thought was really quite interesting. And I think at the end of it, there was kind of a nod to the James Bond speculation, I felt, if you know what I mean. Maybe that's...
well, it definitely was a nod to whether or not that this might be a thing that they're going to be doing with Luther.
It's a TV movie, right? It is a TV movie.
I just found kind of his angst was a little bit too much for me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to give away the movie, but in the series, you kind of expect it in a TV detective series, as in, you know, there's so many TV detective series where the guy is grizzled. You know, he's got a difficult past, and yet he's the only one out there that, you know, even in Bosch. Like, it's a mission, you know. It's not a job, it's a life choice, you know, that kind of life choice crack. I love how my voice is changing.
I know, I'm a little bit frightened, but okay.
I know.
I am.
It's very strange. It's like,
is there a moon? Is there a full moon?
I'm not even doing it consciously. But those are the kind of things that you have. You know, they're hard bitten, they've got problems, and yet they're still there.
It takes all those.
It does. And he does that in the series, but I think maybe it was that the story was so OTT that you were kind of like going, would you not leave it to the lads? Like, there's how many people in the Metropolitan Police? I'm imagining
at least 10 or 12.
But maybe
one would
the
think
story,
there's at least 10 to 20,000 Metropolitan Police officers.
Well,
and I was like,
they're dropping like flies given what they do on the job. But anyway, I take the wider point.
One of them could give him a hand. Like,
do you think though do they potentially try and get away with that because the story's so outlandish, really, that, you know, we're not really supposed to try and ground it in reality, because it really is, it's quite far-fetched, and there's some such convenience things that happen to progress the plot and the case and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I just think, I suppose in the TV shows, well, you kind of knew all the characters in it, whereas really there's only 2 characters back, which is Luther, and there's one other character that's
Bossman,
that's coming from the thing. Yeah. So I think that's part of it as well. You know, there was a couple of characters that came into it, and I'm like, I've only met these people 30 seconds ago. Why do I care about it?
The baddie was really... Like, it's spectacular if you watch it, Michael, in what the protagonist compels people to do and how he does it. And I can get it, but just for it all to work out like precisely how he intends, and then
too contrived to be. But is it just escapism? Are you meant to just switch your brain off?
I think
this is it.
TV movie is definitely
that's the point I was trying to make.
Okay,
because then when you think, well, you know, the best minds in the Met could sort this out, but I think they've taken us to a point of fantasy that we're supposed to not. I don't know, but that's how it feels. But that being said, I actually enjoyed it, and I enjoyed his story within what everything went on, if that makes sense. So where we pick him up, the journey he went
very
through.
Good.
And if it continues as a series of movies, will you be there for them? Will you watch them?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would definitely give them one more, but they'd really want to pick up on the... Like, a lot of great explosions, good fight scenes, that kind of stuff in it, you know what I mean? But they definitely need more depth to their...
You're just dying to do the gravelly voice again. Do the gravelly voice again.
More depth.
They need more... No, I can't do it when I'm doing it. They need more depth to the storytelling.
Fight scenes are a bit poor.
Oh, there you go.
I don't... Yeah, but I know what you say. He's good. His stuff is good.
He is very good.
There's a couple of other people in it. So, listeners, what did you think? Have you watched Luther the Fallen Son? We want your reviews, your views. 086 60 25,000. Anything else that you're watching? It's that time of the year, really, where unless we're talking about snooker, that's all I'm going to be watching for the next 2 or 3 weeks. So, or EastEnders, which is the price, not EastEnders, but Coronation Street and Emmerdale, which is the price I pay to watch snooker. Sit up to 12 to watch snooker. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, be that as it may, everything's a currency. What would you give it out of 10?
For me, I would if you want to sit down and you've never experienced it,
watch the series.
Go back and watch the series. 100%. The series is much better. I would have given the series like 8.5, 9, that kind of thing. I really enjoyed the series along the way. It really was. This, I kind of was saying, like you say, sort of a TV movie. You're grand, you're sitting down, you're looking for something to watch. There's a little bit of action in it, a little bit of this, that, and the other. Sit down and watch it. So I'd really only be saying like a 6 or a 7 on it. For me, that's what it was.
And you know what I'm interested in is real proper Luther fans, what you think if you watched it. I am a Luther fan. I kind of was a little bit disappointed with where it went, but then again I come out of it and I did enjoy it, but I'm glad I didn't jump in the car and drive for 40 minutes to go and see it.
Yeah. You know, I wasn't sorry I watched it. You know the way there's some things you're like, oh God, I'm never going to get that time back. It wasn't like it's not that it's bad. It's just if you sat down and watched this and didn't know anything about it, you'd actually say, oh God, that's not bad. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's more in the comparison
to the series.
And what was there.
And I think what saved it for me is I liked Luther's sort of journey through it, the character itself, because everything else that went around it was a little bit, I don't know. Right, okay, so that's Luther the Fallen Son. It is on Netflix, and if you haven't spotted it yet, Netflix will remind you of it on a regular occasion. Another one I actually watched was The Boston Strangler. I'm interested in that, so we might do that one as well, not making it all about me. So The Hunt for Raoul Moat. Raoul Moat, this is another one of those stories, right? We've had a couple of these of late where we watched it and followed it as it happened, and now it's become
a dramatisation. I remember this story. Yeah, somebody else was recommending it to me.
This is one Gaza was involved in.
Yes, that's right.
To the riverbank and
he came down with the fishing pole and all this.
I don't fully remember this story, but somebody else was recommending the series to me, and I was like,
July 2010 in Newcastle.
To do it in her voice.
It's July 2010.
Where
Raoul Moat gets out of prison.
Okay, go back to yourself now.
So he, it's a really grim, horrific story that ran for a week in the national papers in the UK, and I do remember some of it. I remember the showdown, which I think most people remember very well. So this 3-parter on ITV during the week looks at the story. Raoul Moat got out of prison. He had been threatening his ex-girlfriend, who had been trying to move on with her life. And 2 days after getting out of prison, he tracked her down and he shot and killed her new partner. He shot and injured her. And then he went on a crime spree around Newcastle. And he shot and seriously injured another police officer. And then he released a letter to the press. Well, he sent it to the press. They delivered it to the police, where he said he was going to get back at all the police who he said had ruined his life. Now, he was in prison for 4 months, having hit his own child, his 9-year-old child, so badly that he was...
not a nice character.
Not a nice character.
Being said, a bit of an anti-hero for some people.
This is the thing. Yeah. So what... I went into this because I love, the Martin Clunes Manhunt series. So I went into this sort of blind, thinking it was going to be a procedural like that. And it wasn't, so I was disappointed by that aspect. But I did find myself really compelled to watch this, because it's not so much about the police aspects of it, the chasing, but it's about the victims, and it's about the impact that Raoul Moat had on the...
Is that what you wanted, though? Now,
it's not what I wanted.
It's a nice thing, right?
Yeah.
And we're looking at it from a different angle, and they did the same with Dahmer, I believe, wasn't it? Was it? Yeah.
Okay, so they looked,
right. So it was very victim focused. And it's real, and I have great sympathy for everything his victims went through.
Yes,
but I actually probably did want to see the police hare and the hound.
Yeah, I agree with you.
If I'm just
I would
honest.
have given it a higher grade if it had been the police exclusively, or even the journalist. There's a good character, a journalist in this, obviously a real person. But instead, you get about a third of the time is spent with the suffering of the families, and it's done in a respectful way.
I get it.
It's not salacious. It's not like they don't show the actual murder, for instance. They cut away. They're not trying to be that way. They're not trying to get viewers by doing that kind of thing. But yes, they do show the family of the man who died, and they show the woman in hospital who was shot on the night and how she recovered. And they also look at the policeman and the effect that had on the various police. I wasn't expecting that. I read the Guardian review this morning. Not that many reviews out there for this, which is surprising, but they liked it. They give it 6 out of 10. I'd give it more, but they did say that it's sad viewing, because the casting at the start, the first half hour is about the couple meeting, and because you spend a half hour with them and the casting is really good, you can't help but get invested.
Yeah, because I would like to see how that story unfolded from the media might focus on effectively.
Yes.
And they, from my brief reading on it, they went out of their way to make sure that they didn't in any way glorify.
Yeah, they did. They did, yeah. He's in it to a lesser degree than I would have expected, and you don't get his POV very much at all, which is fine. What's interesting about the story, and what you alluded to, and which I find quite disturbing, and I don't think I knew this from 2010, almost immediately there was a Facebook group, and there was a lot of online support for Raoul Moat, and a lot of people calling him, you legend, you're a hero, you're taking on the coppers, it's great that you're, and if my woman did to me what his woman did to him, oh man, I wish I had the strength to go after all this kind of stuff.
Scary.
They had something like 30,000 followers on the Facebook page before it was taken down.
Can you imagine if that was now?
Oh, to be worse. Yeah, agreed. I saw that.
Multiply that.
Multiply it, yeah. So that aspect comes up, and I thought they dealt with that very well in the story, and the family of the victim seeing this online and coming to terms with the fact that there was widespread support for this guy. There's even a scene in a pub where people are having a sing-song where they've put Raoul Moat's name into a song, and they're all kind of rousingly supporting.
That's the way it was, yeah.
So that's bleak. I mean, I was chatting about this with my housemates in the kitchen, and I was coming downstairs going, man, I'm watching a really heavy show up there. I mean, this is really heavy, because you're kind of looking, my God, it's a bleak side of human nature that they would embrace a guy like this.
And before we get to the conclusion, really, of your review, Fionnuala, often, the criticism of programme and filmmakers is that it exploits the victims, and we've talked about that an awful lot here, and yet here I am arguing that I would probably like to watch it. Do you know that sort of way? But it's what's entertainment, and it's what... Yeah, exactly.
I didn't realise this was a drama-mentary or whatever they call it now when they do the... where they do the things together. But no, I mean, you were mentioning the Jeffrey Dahmer one, and that is one thing that came out that a lot of people were saying that it went too far in the Dahmer police and didn't give enough attention.
I might be mixing up with a
there's been so many.
There's been a lot.
Now. Yeah. There's been a lot of them, but the latest one I think that was on I'm going to say Netflix now, but it might not be. It could have been on Disney. It was on one of the streaming channels. Probably the better way to phrase it. There was a lot of talk on that they went for the gore. They went for the way they went for that kind of like.
But they presented that was what the victims went through, and we often don't realise it. So
I know, but I think it was if you're a family member, whatever.
Oh, 100%.
Like that. Yeah. But so I don't know, but I'm looking forward to seeing this. Like I said, it was
family. Yeah, I think
I'm slightly less looking forward to it now than I was before.
Okay.
You started talking about it, and that's why I like honest interviews. I probably still will watch it, but I was looking forward to this because I wanted the
police aspect.
It's like. Well, I don't want to sound insensitive here, but I might as well best speak like I would here as I would off radio. But like say for instance, the time of the Boston Marathon bombings. Yes. You know what I mean? I found that. How they tracked them down, and how they got them into custody. That you know what I mean. That's from a watching a TV show perspective. I watched that, and that's
how I feel
like
about
sort of the procedure in real life of how they got people after.
I feel about the Martin Clunes show Manhunt. I mean, I've given that 10 out of 10.
Based on real stories.
That's real stories as well. And I'm hoping there'll be a third series of that. But in that show, and it doesn't sound exciting, but you do just see him looking at hours and hours of videotape, reading through hundreds of files. And it's done in a way that's gripping. And I read a review of Manhunt again during the week because I really missed that show. And somebody said it is the best show on TV because unlike the fictional detectives, he doesn't use 17th century poetry to solve his crimes. Yeah. He's not an opera fan. He's not anyway quirky. He's a guy who sits down and looks at videotapes and he keeps at it and keeps at it. And that's what Colin Sutton, the real man, whose memoirs the series is based on, did by all accounts. So yeah, that box wasn't ticked for me.
So what are you giving it out of 10 then, Mr.
I give this an 8 because it was sobering, it's intelligent, it's well made, but it's heavy going. 3 hours, like I split it over a couple of nights. 3 hours might be a lot.
Yeah, okay.
Seriously, I mean, it's heavy going.
Look, I had to watch Luther in 2 parts.
There you go. So anyway,
Can I talk about how this is a changed man? When we first met this man,
I didn't watch documentaries.
Spell documentary.
He's really grown as an individual. He has,
as a human being.
As a human being, I think
what
so.
we
And it's
have
all
brought to your
down.
life.
It's all down.
Yeah, the growth that
It
we
is
have
true.
helped you.
Don't deny it,
Helped
Michael.
you acknowledge is unbelievable.
I was just watching cartoons. I know.
I know.
Don't
Last week you had a documentary as well, and it's just it's beyond the beyonds. What we've given him, Greg, I think is what's significant
immeasurable.
about this.
It's immeasurable.
You couldn't
joy,
put a financial
everything.
figure on it.
You couldn't.
And don't
And Highland
even try,
Radio hasn't.
and
So there you
don't
go. It's
even
true.
try to.
Don't even try to. Exactly. There you go.
Right, okay, come here. So far, we've got a 6 or 7 out of 10 in Luther, The Fallen Son. It was it's you're not trying to drag someone to the TV to watch it, but I think we both recommend watching it if you like that stuff.
Yeah.
And The Hunt for Raoul mode on ITV, something a little bit different. Now, often too, we come at things with our own perspective. Someone might watch this and get something completely different.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear from someone who had a different take
That's
on it.
why we do this, because it's subjective. All right,
100%.
keep your texts coming into us, 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and text that number. Give us a call on 07491 25,000. Or if you're watching on social media, feel free to drop in a comment there as well. Back with more from Michael and Fanula after we take these messages.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Red hot weanling prices. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Find out what's driving weanling prices up by €200 a head. Farmers rush to transfer farms before Sinn Féin take power. Co-ops and agri-businesses targeted by credit card fraudsters. We analyse how milk prices will change in the coming months. The slurry additive that could slash Ireland's methane emissions. Plus, in Irish Country Living, don't miss our top tips for managing farm finances and tax.
Inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal, on sale now.
At Centra, we have great offers this week, like Centra Fresh Irish Whole Chicken 1.5 kilo, only €5. Andrex 16 roll, Ariel and Ferry non-bioliquid 51 wash, €10 each. And wines we love, Don Simon, Tempranillo and Sauvignon Blanc, €8 each. Smart choices, choose Centra. Centra, live every day. Enjoy, call sensibly.
Preparing for a special occasion? Sorrento Shoes has the finishing touch. Shoes and bags in pastel shades, bling or classic neutrals. Sorrento Shoes, available in all leading shoe stores.
By choosing Donegal Creamery's milk, you're supporting over 200 dairy farming families across Donegal in doing what they do best, producing delicious, fresh milk every day. For over 100 years, Donegal Creamery's milk has been brought to you daily from our dairy at Crossroads, Killygordon, the longest established creamery in the region. Support local farms, local families and local jobs by choosing Donegal Creamery's milk.
Donegal begin their Ulster Championship campaign this Sunday afternoon against Down in Newry. Join Oisín Kelly and Martin McHugh for full match commentary on Sunday at Park Esler from the 2 o'clock throw-in. Live coverage of Donegal in this year's Senior Football Championship is brought to you by Highland Motors in Letterkenny. Travel in style and comfort class in the Citroën C5 Aircross. Available for immediate delivery in diesel, petrol and hybrid.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
Okay, the time is 25 past 11. Obsessed on Netflix, very steamy. Okay, well, we'll have to see if
Hi,
that
Granny.
will...
Granny can't watch
we'll have
that.
to see if that will pass the...
Granny test?
No, I can't be watching bold activities on Netflix.
Yes, but I mean, I don't mind.
What's the name of that
But
again?
We also
Obsessed?
have to figure out how you manage your viewing history.
What's that? OBSESSE? Obsessed? Okay.
ESSED.
Oh, excellent, good to know.
Watched Blue Lights on BBC, police drama set in Belfast. Thought it was very good. I recommend you watch it.
I heard
I
good
missed
things
it.
about this.
I missed it, and then I caught the second one or third one in, I think it was,
Yeah.
and I was like, flip.
I've seen
It
a
was
couple
great.
of reviewers say that it's way better than you would expect a show like this to be. That it's actually, way better than they were expecting going in. Because it's like just a procedural, isn't it? It's about cops on the beat. Cops on the beat.
It's like about 4 rookies that have just like after coming out of whatever's the equivalent of
The Academy? The equivalent of the Academy? Yeah.
Police. Yeah, the Police Academy.
Police Academy.
All right, Kevin's been on to us. Luther, nothing without his jacket cape. Too late for Bond, I think we agree. There is a Superman costume going spare, though, I'm told. By the way, did you know that yesterday was National Lookalike Day?
Oh.
Who would you and TV2 resemble? What a brilliant question.
That is a great question.
Now, I'm here for the content people. We couldn't come up with that.
That's a great question.
Right, so,
I know.
I don't know.
Do we have to say who we ourselves look like, or who we think?
But I would like the listeners maybe to get involved. But I don't know if my feelings can cope with it. So, but if you want
I
to,
only ever get Mary Harney. I used to always get Mary Harney. You look like Mary Harney. But the hair was a little bit.
Did you ever use that to your advantage? Try and get in somewhere?
How could you?
I definitely want to have a conversation with you about how I would use that to my
and a bit
advantage.
of political history might do you no harm. Okay, so if you think any of us, and I'll put the other two on camera as well, have a celebrity lookalike. Please, I'll
be embarrassed
I'm just
if people say Tom
absolutely
Cruise.
hammered on this. If people can be bothered to take their phones out, I'm going to get hammered on it. 086 60 25,000. Who are our doppelgangers? Reminds me to say, he says that Dead Ringers on Apple is on tonight with Rachel Wells. Playing twins from a show that originally had Cork native and just happens to live in a pink castle as you do. Jeremy Irons from the same name of the film. Kevin, as always, thank you for that. Right. Okay,
Yeah.
so come here, before we move on, we have... and the majority of people listening, of course, won't know what we have. It is a beautiful, hard blue bottle. Shop LK, love shopping Letterkenny Tidy Towns, caring for our local environment. It's a reusable water bottle. And it's of really, really high quality. It looks about 15 to 20 quid's worth to me, although I don't really buy these
I don't
things.
know, but
but why are we holding this?
Well, we are holding this. Anybody might have seen it. If they haven't seen it online, they might have seen it in the local papers. It was launched a few weeks ago when the Tidy Towns, Letterkenny Tidy Towns, launched their agenda and projects for 2023 into 2024. So this is one of the things the Chamber of Commerce always gets behind, the Tidy Towns, and one of the things that we've done this year is we have produced this water bottle which we are giving away for free, and it's just really to try and get people to reuse, recycle, that kind of thing. A lot of people don't like even the plastic water bottles.
Yeah,
the hard plastic bottle water bottles that come out.
With the best will in the world, they do get a wee taste off them.
Well, after a while, I think after a while, I found as well, you get a great run, maybe for 6 months or whatever with them, and then they don't.
I'm not dissing them. I'm just saying it's my own personal opinion.
No, well, this one is is the start of a campaign. What we're hoping to do is to put actual taps in certain spots around Letterkenny, so that when people are out walking or even just out and about at their general day, that they can fill them up as they're going around. So that is the plan as part of a larger campaign. So we have a couple of them here. I was supposed to be drinking out of it, but to be honest,
but you know what?
I had tea instead this morning.
Yeah, we'll go with the full-on plug rather than the casual plug.
Exactly. So I have a couple of them if you want to give one or two
we'll
away.
Definitely. We definitely will. If you want to win one of them, we'll give two away. Yeah.
Yeah,
just
no
text,
problem.
If you're interested in it, just text your name and where you're from. We won't ask a question, and they're really high quality, and they are available. Or people might see them out and about.
Passing in by the Chamber, and you'll see them in a lot of different places where they have left a
but
few
they're really
of them.
high quality. Like I'm surprised you. It's not.
I definitely think they could have sold them if they wanted to, but they are giving them away. Yep, they're lovely blue colour, little black top, and they have the lovely hook that you can, if you're out walking or if you are, you can hook them onto your bag if it's going even for going to work, going to school, different things. That's just the instructions that's inside.
But you see, Caroline put water in mine.
Oh,
but left the instructions in. So I'm not going to try that. I'm not sure you're supposed to drink the instructions.
I'm assuming not.
Okay, but listen, that's great. I think that's a really, really nice initiative. And I really like the idea, and I think I heard this at a town council meeting quite some time ago, of access to public water access.
Well, this is what they're hoping to do, that this is what it is.
Okay.
Brilliant idea. As a pedestrian and who does big
It takes a while to get it over the line, but if they're talking about it, that's
a great sign.
Well, you have to make sure, because obviously for health and safety and that kind of thing, you have to make sure that everything is done fine. But this is the start of it, and we're hoping that before the end of the year that there'll be at least one kind of, I think at the moment, and forgive me, Tony, if I'm wrong, they're looking at the kind of community centre area, because you've so many people there going to sports, doing events, different things like that. It's very much part of the circle. A lot of people meet there and then do a circle of the town and that kind of thing with their walk.
A lot of people, but not you or me.
Now, I see them and I go,
Michael.
They are amazing. Michael does loads of walking.
Yeah.
Now,
I clean the windows so I can see them clearly out from the window.
I drive around and admire them for their strength and endurance.
You're giving moral support.
All right.
Exactly.
Okay, so listen, just text in your name, where you're from, and we'll select two of you to win one of these reusable Shop LK water bottles of really high quality.
Or if you think I look like a really good celebrity.
Yeah, exactly.
A complimentary celebrity.
Can I just say, by the way, let me be very clear to add on to what Fionnuala is saying there. We are very open to bribes. Incredibly open to bribes. So any complimentary suggestions as to who we might look at also...
Yes, believable and complimentary.
Exactly.
These are the two. That would definitely get my vote.
Now, there's no point saying Michael looks like Gal Gadot or whoever is Wonder Woman currently. There's no,
I hear that a lot, Greg. It's funny you should pick that out.
Realistic.
Yeah. You look a lot like Jennifer Garner, but I suppose you hear that too. So.
I do. Yes, I do indeed.
There you go.
Okay, so as I say, any actual text at this point, you will be able
you get a bottle.
One of these bottles. We have two, thanks to El Presidente, two to give away as part of this Shop OK Letterkenny Tidy Towns initiative, and I suppose the whole idea of it is to try as much as we can, I think, to get our minds in the reusable space, but to get those plastic bottles off the streets, which sit around for forever, effectively. They just don't go away. Right, more after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
I've lost my car keys. Lost my car once in a multi-story. Lost my patience. My hair? Lost that a while back. But this week, I found things I thought had gone forever. The crackle of needle on vinyl. Leaves crunching. I found them all at Specsavers. I got free hearing aids with PRSI, and now those sounds are back. So's my joie de vivre. Still can't find those keys, though.
Book a free hearing test today. Terms and conditions apply. See our website for details.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Looking for a good night's sleep? Restex Beds has you covered. Located at Mountaintop Letterkenny. They are the best in the Northwest to get a quality bed or mattress. Come visit them today and wake up feeling rested and refreshed. Restex Beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny.
Spring into action with the Lidl Garden event with quality Parkside gear for less. We've trimmed prices on our hedge trimmers, was $89.99, now $69.99. Or Parkside petrol lawnmowers at cut above at an incredible $199.99. And you'll dig our garden tools at just $249. On sale from April 20th while stocks last. Lidl, more for you.
Connolly's Volkswagen Letterkenny, your only official Volkswagen passenger and commercial vehicle dealer for County Donegal. Pop in to visit our showroom on Canal Road, Letterkenny. Speak to a member of our friendly team and drive away in your dream Volkswagen. Book a test drive on 074 91 22 333 or check out our full new and used range at connellys.ie.
Red hot weanling prices. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Find out what's driving weanling prices up by €200 a head. Farmers rush to transfer farms before Sinn Féin take power. Co-ops and agri-businesses targeted by credit card fraudsters. We analyse how milk prices will change in the coming months. The slurry additive that could slash Ireland's methane emissions. Plus, in Irish Country Living, don't miss our top tips for managing farm finances and tax.
Inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal, on sale now.
All right, more from Michael and Fionnuala shortly, but The Examination is an award-winning production by Broken Talkers exploring mental health and human rights in the prison system. It's performed by Broken Talkers Gary Keegan and stand-up comedian and former prisoner Willie White, the latter. I'm delighted to welcome onto the programme today. Good morning to you, Willie. How are you keeping?
All good, Greg. How are you?
Good. It's good to have you with us. Right. Okay. So, how long have you been a comedian and former prisoner is what I've been given to describe you as. I mean, are you comfortable with that? Were you a comedian before or what?
Well, I think I was a comedian in prison also, but started getting paid for it when I got out of prison would be probably the best way to describe it. So I was originally on a program from Des Bishop's Joy in the Hood, which he went around to all disadvantaged areas, I say that very loosely, and taught people comedy workshops, and then they went in front of their friends in a local community centre or community hall and performed a bit of stand-up. So that's really how I got into stand-up, and that was after being released from prison in 2001, yeah.
What was your... I mean, you speak quite openly about, your life before prison, and the purpose of prison really is... the ethos of it really is about rehabilitation, isn't it? You pay you do your time for your crimes, but the whole idea, I presume, is that you come out a better person for it, but maybe society doesn't view prisoners like that.
No, I think there's a completely different view on prisoners. I think there's always that stigma and there's always that kind of cliche, once a prisoner, always a prisoner. And, I would be probably the first to say that a lot of prisoners do not get reformed. A lot of prisoners come back out of prison with the revolving door syndrome, is that they come back out and they very soon, with no rehabilitation, no skills of how to combat going back in again, end up going back into the prison system.
And I'm sure you've seen people as well that have gone into prison, Willie, for relatively, for not necessarily very serious crime, but leave prison perhaps to go into a life of more serious crime, in that, it doesn't necessarily rehabilitate people. It can actually tool them up for a life of more serious crime.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely. I've also seen lads go into prison with no addiction issues, come out with addiction issues. And with addiction issues comes crime, because you need to feed that addiction. And one of the ways to feed that addiction, if you're not holding down a really good full-time job, is to commit crime. And when you commit crime, criminality, is what does that. And with criminality and crime, unfortunately, prison ensues,
And what was your experience like? I mean, obviously we can't go through it all now, but I mean, your life before prison, your time in prison, and since you've been released, could you summarise that journey for yourself? I mean, do you feel you were sort of society left you with on a path that would end up you being in prison, if that is the case? How was prison and your time since?
I wouldn't go so far as to blaming society for my problems and my issues with prison. I came from a decent enough background regarding my mother and father having jobs. Excuse me. And my father, unfortunately, liked to drink, and there was a lot of violence at home, and there was a lot of dysfunction, which led to childhood trauma on my behalf. And when I started taking drugs at a very young age, it was a blanket of comfort, and it took me away from everything that was going on at home. So that was really why I started to take drugs. I never had any intentions of growing up and, pursuing the life to be a full-time drug addict or criminal. I had different dreams and different aspirations. Probably to be on stage more so, performing, whether it was acting or whether it was singing or something like that. I was always kind of very talented as a young kid, but unfortunately the drugs snatched that and took that all away from me. And then late on in life, I ended up on my drug of choice, which would have been heroin and crack cocaine, and took me down a really, really bad path. I ended up in numerous psychiatric hospitals. I ended up homeless on the streets. I ended up in a lot of prisons, and my life just went into complete turmoil from me taking drugs. So realistically, at the end of the day, the drugs were just the short-term solution to a long-term problem.
And as you've indicated, your time in prison could have been the end of you, effectively, but you've come out the other end. What was different for you compared to the other people you'll have seen that perhaps their life, their addiction, their mental health declined, and then they're released from prison and their life just either ends or goes nowhere? What was different for you, do you think, Willie, that has seen you come out of prison and move forward with your life?
Well, Greg, I was very fortunate on the last prison sentence that I done. I was released from prison in April 2001. And when I got released from prison in April 2001, I had in prison found the 12-step program, which I attended and still do attend. And I was very, very fortunate that I got an understanding of my addiction. I got an understanding of why I took drugs. I got an understanding that I could live life without the use of any substance whatsoever. And I started attending these meetings, and I knew then when I asked for help in the prison, which was probably the biggest thing that I'd ever done, when I went and asked for the help, that the help was there for me. And I eventually got myself drug-free and sober, and have been for the last 22 years.
Well done.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of lads that avail of that. There's a lot of lads that are very, very fearful of letting go of the drug of choice. They're afraid that they can't deal with life on life's terms. They can't deal with stuff that has happened to them in the past, be it, physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, or a traumatic period in their life. I was ready to kind of face that and get myself together and recover. So
Willie, how much of your life has been, thankfully, a good period of it since not, but how much of your life then was difficult between what you went through in the family home with your father's drinking, then of course on the pathway with drugs and the time in prison up until your release? So how much of your life does that distressing time take up?
Hook up all my life till the age of 29.
I mean, it's tight, isn't it?
Yeah, if I be really honest, like, don't get me wrong, I've had periods of time where things were genuinely okay in my life and were manageable, and that I wasn't really in the full realms of active addiction and living a chaotic life, so to speak. But I mean, for most of my life since I was a young child, up until I eventually got drug-free at 29, I've had some sort of issues going on, be it family, and be it internal stuff that I've had to deal with, and just couldn't deal with it. And the only solution for me was to bury my head in the sand with drugs. And when I took drugs, it just took me away from everything that was going on. Do
you think we'll get on to the play in a second, but just whilst I have you, do you think then and you only have to look under an article about someone who's been imprisoned, what people think, lock them up, throw away the key, this, that and the other, scumbag, all the usual stuff.
Yeah,
do you think we as a general population need to sort of maybe think twice about that there's nature and there's nurture and all that type of stuff?
Definitely. Of course we do. Listen, I'm not saying that prisons, I'm not saying that prisons are a deterrent from crime. And I'm not saying that prisons are the solution to everything, because, as statistics show, people get out of prison and they reoffend. I think there needs to be more money put into the rehabilitation of prisoners. I think there needs to be more money put into resources and rehab and recovery for people that are dealing with addiction issues. It's prison serves its purpose. It doesn't matter, whether you have a television in your cell, or it doesn't matter whatever. The prison sentence is that you're taken away from society where you've done damage to some, to a person or to a facility or something like that, and you're taken away from the people that you love, and you're taken away from your freedom, and you're locked up. So you lose your liberty
and everything that goes with that.
It's by far a holiday camp. Like, as we say in the play, I mean, I don't know any holiday camps that you can go in and that you're locked up at 7 o'clock in the evening,
So the examination, you bring it to On Green on this coming Tuesday, the 25th of April. And I don't have it in my notes here, and I don't really like notes anyway, because I prefer you to tell me rather than me to tell you. Is it is it you? Is it a group of actors on stage? What is the story that you're telling, Willie?
No, the story basically is it's Gary Keegan, who's one of the members of Broken Talkers, and myself. So very, very quickly, it was meant to be a one-man play, which was myself, and it wasn't really working out to the best way that we thought it was going to work out. So we got Gary to read in, and then it aspired that Gary was himself a victim of crime in London. He was horrifically mugged over there. So essentially what the play amalgamated to be was that Gary is an ex-victim of crime. I, myself, am an ex-criminal. He tells his story about what it was like for him and explains the history of the criminal. We talk about the mental health and welfare of prisoners in the Irish prison system. And we also read extracts from people that are actually serving life sentences at the moment in Mouthpiece prison, and it amalgamates into this amazing piece of theatre. The visuals and the audio that's in it as well, it will just blow people away. It's an amazing piece of theatre. And we also won a lot of awards for it. We won the Best Production Award 2020 from the Irish Times, Best Soundscape Award 2020, the Irish Times. We won the Dublin Fringe Festival 2019 Best Production, and I won Best Actor at the Dublin Fringe Festival out of 700 people.
Yeah, some of the reviews: superbly slippery piece of theatre. That's from the stage. The Irish Times: no easy escapes in Broken Talkers' sly, provocative play. Again and again, says Fest, the examination pulls the rug out from under you. So it's perhaps not everything as it may seem. This is one of those I think you need to go along and watch as things
100%.
unfold, rather than us try and necessarily set it up. So trust the reviews and get along to An Grian on this Tuesday, the 25th of April. Willie White, it's been nice speaking to you. Thank you for joining us, and I'm sure you'll have a full house on Tuesday night for that, because, as I say, these awards aren't handed out like sweets either. These are top level awards and great reviews as well.
Greg, thanks so much, and please God you'll come yourself and have a look.
Take care, Willie. Thank you so very much indeed. Back with more from Michael and Fionnuala after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Attention all pet lovers and owners. Gary's Pet World Letterkenny is open 7 days per week, offering the very best value on all pet foods, accessories, grooming and care products. Call in and let our staff help you spoil your pet today. You will be amazed by the range of product for all pets, with exceptional value on all leading brands. Alternatively, you can browse and buy online at petworld.ie, and we will deliver to your home.
Hi, Brí Jean here from McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles Buncrana. Our massive marquee tile sale in Buncrana is now on, with up to 75% off wall tiles, floor tiles and much more. Grab yourself a bargain this week at McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles Buncrana.
Fógra tábhaach dó siú de gundathe tóran na héireann an dónach an tríoláis fithe d'Evráin. Idir trí is a cethar éarnóin by rialtas na riachta aontaithe teastáil chóras bhláramh teacs nua. Seans go bhaidh siad teachtrachts an bhón leis an tun seo. Cratha an gléas freisin. Ná bí géimneach, ní gá aon rud a dhéanamh. Ólas ag gov.ie alerts ó rialtas na héireann.
Farmers know when it's time to get moving. Like when the alarm goes off first thing in the morning, they know it's time to move the herd in for milking. And when it comes to insurance, farmers are discovering why it's time for another move. With AXA Smart Farm Insurance, switching couldn't be easier. You don't have to fill out any long documents to join, so the process is as pain-free as possible. So, if you're paying more than you should be, ask yourself, is it time for a move? For a quote, search axa.ie/farm. AXA. Know you can. Terms and conditions apply. AXA Insurance DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Hi
Ireland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Lanzarote is back. Check out our new weekly flights to Lanzarote with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Dry and mostly sunny this morning. It'll stay mostly dry and sunny for the rest of the day. Some cloud might build up in the evening, though. Temperatures 13 to 16 degrees. Two very contrasting entrants into our water bottle competition. And it'll all become apparent as I read out their submissions. It's all right. It's not lookalikes. You can relax. Anne from Ballandrate, Lifford says, I would love one. Please, Greg. Thanks. No problem, Anne. You're getting one. And then Niall Carr in Fana, he's also getting one, but his pitch was... interested in water bottle.
I like it. Direct and to
Niall,
the point.
don't overcommit. We're going to satisfy your passing interest in the water bottle. Okay,
and if actually, if they're passing the station, I have them here. They can just drop into the station if they're passing by the station,
All right, Colin from Accounts, RT1, BBC 2. Is this a co-production?
No, it's an Australian comedy.
Oh, good eye, mate.
Australian. Oh, I like that. You segued into that with no build-up. You didn't even realise. That's years of watching Home and Away.
Well, apologies to any Australians.
Any Australians listening. It's a half-hour rom-com, and I love a good rom-com, like that French Hookup Plan and some of those American shows like Flying Blind. I love a good rom-com when it's done well. This is really good. Half-hour comedy series, Monday nights RT2, or if you're on the RTE player, you can just watch all 8 episodes. I watched 5 of the episodes this week, and I'll be finishing it off this weekend. Completely smitten with the show. The couple that stars in this show, they created it, they wrote the episodes, and they're married in real life. But I don't think it's their story somehow.
That's amazing.
I don't think it's their story. Patrick Bramall is the guy. I watched this because it was recommended to me last week. Patrick Bramall is on a show I love, an American show called Evil, which is a fantastic show about priests fighting demons. It's scary. You would hate it, Fanula. But he's on that as the husband of the main character. I had no idea he was so funny. I had no idea he was so good at comedy, or that his wife was so funny or so good at comedy. It starts off with a great, very original meet cute, as all these rom-coms have to start. He's out driving. She's a pedestrian. They don't know each other, needless to say. Something happens, which I won't give out, won't spoil it. But he ends up hitting a cute stray dog. It's her fault, he maintains. She runs back. They get into a sort of a squabble about this dog, which is injured. They take the dog to a vet called Yvette, and they get great mileage out of that. So they decide they're going to take care of this stray dog after much toing and froing, and they just then discover it's going to cost $12,000 because the dog has to be put inside a frame. So they end up having to mutually take care of this dog, and that's the plot. That's what drives the series. You have this man and this woman who don't know each other, don't like each other very much at the start, but she owes him $6,000 because he insists that she pay half, and he knows nothing about dogs, so he enlists her to kind of help take care of the dog. Then she gets kicked out of her house where she's sharing because the landlord doesn't allow her to have dogs. So the two of them don't really like each other, but they're thrust together, and it's really very funny. And the chemistry, I was reading again some of the reviews. The Guardian review talks about this fantastic chemistry. Usually couples who are together in real life don't have great chemistry on camera.
I didn't think they've I don't think they've chemistry at all.
On this show?
Yeah.
Oh, I think they're adorable. They're fabulous.
Yeah.
Chemistry, it's addictive. And the Times review said it's addictive viewing. I found the show. You've seen it as well.
I just watched the first 2 because I found it on restarting it on BBC.
BBC are showing on Sunday nights.
And it's also on what was last night was Thursday. It's also on Wednesday nights. It's on Wednesday nights at 11:15, and it is on Sunday nights at, I think it's 9 o'clock or something.
Audience
like that.
and critics love it.
BBC.
On Rotten Tomatoes.
I know.
It's big, and it's done very well internationally.
I don't know if it's my thing either, and Fionnuala, I think maybe you're the same.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't like rom-coms, if you don't
like rom-coms,
I know, in fairness, I do, and I'm constantly searching for my new half-hour show.
Well, there's only 8 episodes of this.
So, come here, you're giving it 10 out of 10, Fionnuala.
I'm only too into it. It's fine.
We'll wait and see.
It's not that I'm not enjoying it, but I wouldn't be raving about it the way people are raving about it.
That's a double negative, so it means you love it.
Yes, there you go, double nose, yeah.
I just think I find her character a little bit
adorable.
She's supposed to be.
See, if you don't
adorable.
Now, if you don't get on with the characters, though, it all falls to bits. Yeah.
Well, she's scatty and she's like all over the place,
adorable.
and she's kind of a bit rude and drinks too much and does this too much.
They're
and
Australian. That's the joke.
I know.
I mean,
she's also a junior doctor.
She stays in his house.
Put a prawn on the Barbie.
She stays at his house in an episode.
No, but it's a lot of beer.
This will give you an idea of the humour. She stays the first night she stays in his house. She wakes up, sort of half sleepwalking, goes to the bathroom, but she's disorientated. She walks into his bedroom, opens the drawer in his dresser drawer, uses that as the toilet, then goes back to bed, hasn't a clue. He wakes up horrified to find that obviously she's used his drawer.
Well, no, he wakes up to see her.
He sees her doing it, yeah. And then she finds out and she starts about replacing it. I think it's very...
sounds like situation comedy too.
Well, it is a sitcom. I mean, it's like, Red Dwarf, those shows where you take two characters who shouldn't really be hanging out, but they're thrust together.
Right, okay.
That's what this is.
Yeah, all right. Mixed views on it. And so we only have a minute or two. And I don't know, do you want to do Boston Strangler in a minute
just that it's one to watch. I didn't really know anything about it.
I thought this was old and I didn't realise it was brand new because I think it's on Disney, isn't it?
Yes,
and they're not brilliant at marketing.
It's a documentary. It's really terrible. No, honest to God, no, it's not a documentary. And Keira Knightley's in it, which is very strange. And I assumed it was an old movie as well. And I was saying, I must have missed Keira Knightley doing this back in the day. But actually, it is a brand new movie. Disney have done it. It's another one of these stories where it's kind of a story within a story. So most people will have heard something about the Boston Strangler, or at least that word. Those two words put together mean something to people.
Well, we don't have any more time. We're going to come back to that next week. The funny thing is you see, it sort of tries to give credit to journalists, and I just think we're kind of not in that space as a society at the moment to give credit to journalists. I don't know. Listen, I'm sorry. I feel really bad to cut across. Yeah, exactly. Actually, no, because it is quite interesting because they're all on lifestyle and reviewing vacuum cleaners and stuff.
Yeah,
and
these are when it's set. Yeah,
but we'll actually maybe start off with that next week because I think a lot of people might be interested in that. But for now, and all through this whole hour, the main thing that happened is it started off as just a passing comment about let's go out for an Indian, and now it turns out that both Fionnuala and Michael are going out for a lovely Indian meal at a restaurant, or I should say a meal at an Indian restaurant.
We're going to the theatre tomorrow night because we're going to see an opera in the theatre. Highly recommended. Warhol. I'm going to mispronounce it. Warhol, I think, or something.
I'm
like
leaving that to you,
Fionnuala.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Warhol.
Well, enjoy it. Enjoy it. Lovely to hear.
Thank you.
Take care of yourselves. Thank you so much to all of you who listened to the show throughout the course of the week. We're back with you on Monday. Thanks to Neve, who assisted Caroline, or who researched and produced the show. And we're back, as I say, on Monday. John Bresson's coming up around the Northwest next.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
An apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Yes, but a Joy apple keeps the sadness away. Crunchy, juicy with a hint of